people.
There he is. Lucifer, son of the morning. I'm going to
Exactly.
chase you
I mean,
out of
lively up on
earth.
yourself, Come up now, boy. Jump up on there.
There
Let's
is
go.
nothing like good reggae to go with the
You know what's the
to go
best
with a
thing
little
about reggae
breakfast.
that I've learned my whole life, Jason, is that when you put it on, people have their stories in songs. And reggae artists will, sing their songs. It's 11:11, so this is perfect, by the way.
Yeah, it
Um,
is.
reggae, artists will sing songs like about sleeping with their head on a rock, being happy about the food that they have in their mouth. So it's a nice when you put that on, you like it takes you away, from all the little. They're like, oh, I'm just happy to have sleep with my head on a rock in a warm day. Those are the type of things that we all have to remember. And that's why I love reggae so much. It calms you down. It brings you to a place you see that your problems aren't that bad compared to everybody else.
Yeah, let me tell you something. As a guy from Brooklyn, grew up in Brooklyn, New York, I appreciate all forms of reggae. You've been in New York to long enough to know what the dance hall is,
Yes,
and
of
what the
course.
bong what the bong reggae is. Those
Absolutely.
basement parties, my brother.
I
We all
love
about
it.
that life. Listen, speaking
Talking
of all
about
about that life, before the podcast started, we were talking about something called the TWIV podcast,
yeah.
and I want you. The floor is yours. I want you to bring it in. I just lost your picture. I just lost your picture, Chris. All right, hey, for everybody waiting for us, it's Chris Chips. Just trying to make this happen. Let's do that. Let's do that. Oh, he's back. Sorry about that. Volume.
I don't know if that was
There it
me. If
is. Boom.
it was the first time I've ever used this Zoom thing.
Hey, listen, Chris and I are both rookies with Zoom. I made every single one of these errors a week and a half ago. So guys listening to us, this is
Sorry.
pre-recorded, so we get to chop out whatever we want, including what I'm saying right now. Chris,
Okay.
let's bring everybody up to speed on what the TWIB podcast is and the importance of the podcast during this critical climate we're in.
Sure. I was introduced to it's a TWIV this week in virology. It's a podcast that is put out by a professor at Columbia University. He's been doing it, I think, about 12 years. And for the past 15 episodes or so, they've been talking about COVID, SARS, and they kind of break down. It's really heavy, I must admit. It's hard to keep up. But they really break down what's going on with this virus, what they know about it, what they don't know about it. Um, they go over people's questions and answers, and they take in information from all different aspects, people that are working in this industry, and their point of views. They discuss it, how it relates to science, how it relates to our future, how it relates to everyday activities that you're having. So it's really incredible to hear scientists that have studied viruses for I think he's been at Columbia University since early '80s, and he's been published many times. The head of it, and it's just incredible to hear these guys that are and women and anybody involved that are taking the information that's out there, processing it for you, and then telling you, listen, this is what we think, this is what we know, this is what we don't know. This is the educated guesses that we have. Let's go find better um, opinions. Let's go find more information. Let's find the other people that are dealing with this on a daily basis. Let's go to doctors on the front line. Let's talk to people across the country. Let's hear how people are hearing, and all experts, all with specialties in this. And it's just amazing to hear real people talk about real things instead of hearing projections and conjectures of people that are like, oh, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, this is going to be gone. Herd immunity, that's the way to go. That's the way I think it's supposed to be. This, that, and the other. Everybody has a fucking opinion right now because they have 10 seconds of time to look at a headline, and then they make their own personal opinion about that headline. So this is just a nice way of saying, okay, these are all the headlines that are going on, but let's really talk about the realness of this virus, where it came from, how it came to us, what are the things that are going on in the industry to help for the future, what can be done, what can't be done. They talk about vaccinations and what does that mean and how long that's going to be, and they always preface everything by like, if we don't know, we don't know. There's no absolute. In fact, they said it the other day on the podcast. It's like, if your doctor tells you that this is the absolute thing, he's like, go find another doctor. Because in science, you don't know. You think you know.
That's my favorite line, dude. By the way.
But you don't always know, and sometimes things change. Both. We can see it in temperature. We can see how the world, revolves, and ecosystems. Things change, and people change, and ideas change, and directions change. So it's really just very, very, relaxing almost. It's a 2-hour podcast, which I know scares the shit out of people's time and energy, and if they can follow it and whatnot, I totally get that. But normally what I do is I throw it on. My wife throws it on. Turn off the TV, turn off Fox, turn off CNN, turn off anybody that has an opinion that isn't, based on years and years of studying this, and opinion should be, said, but they also should be prefaced by saying, this isn't absolute. This is what I'm thinking. This is what we're thinking. This is what I think we should be doing. And that's what these scientists do. They're not just doctors; they're doctors of
this specific field.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not like,
talk
oh,
about
he's
wheelhouse,
a doctor, and they just want to poke people up for no fucking reason and make the $30,000 and taking a new person in for COVID, and this is all a scam with no, this has nothing to do with this. These are guys that study viruses, and women, excuse me.
I'd like to say that they don't have enough hours in their day to get involved in this lefty righty bullshit.
No,
at some point they've already. My guess is what's going on. Particularly one of the doctors I was listening to before, Dr. Griffin.
Mm-hmm.
God, what was his name? Gosh darn, he was really good.
First name.
Yeah,
yes.
He's in New York City. Doctor. This guy. He has to find time to sleep. He's not gonna get. And when you're balls deep, and like you said, infectious diseases, and studying it and understanding it and conferring with other people and responding to emails and coming up with answers to the best of your ability, you don't give a fuck about this lefty, this Democrat, Republican bullshit. And these. Remember we had this conversation before we got on the podcast. It was yesterday that there are levels to this.
Yes.
It's okay to have an opinion without someone vilifying you for it. I'll give you an example of a different level, and you're going to laugh, and you're going to laugh again because I talked about this yesterday. Someone makes a steak. I think it tastes like liver. Someone's going to come up to me and be like, are you a chef? Then shut the fuck up. You're not a chef. No. You don't need to be a chef to know what steak tastes like. Why? Because you've had steak. All right? There's that level. Yeah. All right? There's a visual level, knowing what you see. If you see someone wearing a badge and a gun and he's driving his car with blue and red lights, it's safe to assume he's a cop. That guy driving the big red truck with the Dalmatian? Listen, probably on Halloween, unless it's Halloween, and he's a very good dresser, you can assume he's a fireman. There's levels to that. But this COVID thing, where you're looking for, where the concentration is infectious disease and how it transfers and different strains and levels we don't understand, it is very, very unfair to tune in to your favorite show, albeit Fox News, albeit CNN, albeit MSNBC, even BBC, and look at one doctor that you're like, that guy's a professional. I'm not going to argue with a professional. He's a professional going on CNN. He is being paid by CNN to talk about infectious diseases. Okay, this is why you and I, we look at every news station, and we have different doctors. We have medical professionals giving different opinions,
People don't
opposite
realize
opinions.
they all
Please.
think, especially I get the reactions all the time. They're like, "Oh, you're such a Democrat," you know. Yeah, I registered as a Democrat. I'll be the first to say that. Recently, actually, is the first
I don't
time ever
even.
in my life, the last election.
I
Um,
think you like democratic values.
I like
I, I
some
don't. I
democratic
mean,
value, not all.
look, we hate shitty
Um,
Democrats. Okay.
yeah, but at the same time, I'm not against any sort of Republican uh, idea as long as it's for the common good and as long as we move forward in our society with it. I'm not going to shoot somebody down because they believe a different thing or look at something in a different way. That's for you to decide. I'm not here to make those decisions. But when any party is putting out shit information, CNN or Fox or whatever it is,
But
you know,
using doctors to do it, Chris. They're using doctors to do it.
I know because
That's the issue right now.
well, the thing is because, and we talked about this yesterday, it's the lack of a coordinated government response. And I just had and that allows all this to happen, this whole fucking chaos to happen. Okay. And I just had a conversation yesterday, besides with you, I had a conversation with a lawyer, a friend of mine who's in Great Neck, Long Island. Okay. Now talk about a bubbled lifestyle. He's, wealthy guy, does very well.
Loving a
Great
dream.
Neck, Long Island. I mean, come on.
It's pretty
So
good.
he's like, I don't understand why you're saying that everybody's, not doing this shit and that the president's not doing what he's supposed to do. He's like, I just don't get it because everybody around here is wearing their gloves and their masks and whatever. What else could he have done? I said, well, that's not the case here in Oregon at all. And I said, and this is what I'm trying to point out to people. And then I started realizing, I said, oh, okay, I got to take that understanding also when I'm projecting out these things. Different parts of the United States are different. I totally get that. And he's like, yeah, well, around here everybody's social distancing, everybody's wearing a mask, everybody's trying to do all this stuff. And I said, well, that's not the same here in Oregon. I said, in fact, it's pretty much opposite. I would say about 95% of the people aren't wearing a mask or gloves or anything. And this has been going on all the way through this whole lockdown. Which was a government issued lockdown. It was for the states to then carry it out, but it was mandated originally through the government. So you would assume that people would at least listen to the government if they're, waving flags and banners and saying that they trust somebody to make a judgment because they're president. You would assume that they would then, but they didn't. I'm an essential worker. I own a dispensary. I had to be there every single day almost in the first week.
We're definitely going to talk
Sure.
about that too. But
Yeah, and I had a couple of people that were sick and out. We weren't sure if it was COVID or not. So we did every protocol that we possibly could, and then I went overboard. I bought all the PPE that was needed early. When I heard that Wuhan was they're building that hospital there in China, I decided to go out and make sure that I was prepared, at least for my staff and for my customers, to make sure that everybody was safe as much as I could understand it from the information that I was getting. And when you know that the government has put in an order like this, and it's in the first week, and I'm at Home Depot, and I'm looking around, and I'm like, this 70-year-old and his wife that are in line are definitely not essential workers, and the 28-year-old kid with his wife and the little kid in their hand are definitely not essential workers. None of them are wearing masks. None of them are socially distancing. You start looking around and you say, what is the problem here? Why aren't people understanding that this will help save lives, and hopefully return our lives back faster? Because once you quarantine and you pull people to the side and you test and you retest, and there's a coordinated effort, and we're seeing it in other countries, actually almost every other country where there's a coordinated effort from the government. The rates are going down like this. We're like this still, basically, and we're teetering like this because of different things opening up and not. So when I saw this, I started saying, okay, what are the root of this problem? And the root is there's no coordinated effort from the government. And is that me? Yeah, sorry. And I say this, and I'm going to use an example that I keep on using, and it's worked out really well. The example I told you yesterday of like a college, and I say college football because they're a little fucking crazy compared to the NFL. NFL, they're a little bit older, and people, but
Yeah.
college people stripping off their shirts and running around. So if when you go to a college football game, they give you a ticket. Okay. That ticket has a number on it, has a seat placement, and you know exactly where you're going, right? And then when you get up to the gates, there's like all these little, barrier gate off, places. And it's like cows being herded. And we all get herded through the gates. And then we know, okay, here's my ticket. I got to find my way to my seat and sit down. And this is where I'm supposed to be to watch the game, right?
Uh-huh.
Right? And it works well. We get 60,000, 100,000 people to come into a stadium, and they all convert in there, and there's no problems. And people are pretty, sociable until they get drunk and they start fights. Whatever. But in general, it's
like every game is spring break.
Exactly. But in general, it's an easy way of presenting something to people so that they can understand it. They're like, oh, my seat's here, and I have to wait in line to get in through here. Now, what I've been saying to everybody: what happens if you don't give them a ticket, and so they don't have? Excuse me. You give them a ticket and there has no seat number on it. Okay, and then you say there's one door and it's right over there, and it opens at 7 o'clock, and the game starts. Good luck.
It's Black Friday. It's Black Friday.
Everybody and their mother is doing this, and then once they get in with a ticket, they don't know where they're sitting. They're fucking scrambling, and they're pushing, and they're trying to get to the best spot, and blah blah. And that's what we have right now. We don't have
you got a way you can do it, and the other way.
Yeah, and we don't have a coordinated effort right now. We've got a fucking ticket without a seat on it, and we have no lines set up to get into the gates. So when you have that happening, and people are like, oh, there's a coordinated effort. Where? I don't see it. I see each state. Yeah, Trump pushed it off, and he said, okay, it's off to the states.
And I want to talk about that when you're done.
Yeah, and then everybody's like, oh, well, it's not Trump's fault because he didn't really have the rights to do anything. It was the states, and they all made it, and it's in the Constitution. Yeah, I get that. But I get a census package from the government, okay? It's actually sitting right, I think we filled it out already, etc. Anyway, you get those almost every single year, right? I forget how, almost every year we get a census package. And they make it to your place, and you have to fill it out and write all this stuff, right? And there's no problem with that. Americans do it, and they grab it. Yeah, people have their, oh, I don't want to do this. It's big people overlooking. But most of the majority of people do it. And so it started dawning on me. I'm like, how come the federal government, yeah, push it off to the states. I get that. But once you make a declaration that the country is going to be shut down, why wouldn't you send out a PPE package to every single American with a little brochure next to it and says, this is how you use it, and this is how we're going to go through the coordinated effort, and please go to your state and your county to see the updates as they are happening, basically. So it's an initial package that's sent to all the Americans so that everybody has a mask, and everybody has gloves, and whatever else they send in the PPE, plus a little information, and send them some like zinc or something. I don't fucking know. But it's a package that's given to people so they understand what you're trying to coordinate and the message you're trying to bring forth in this coordination. Because if you don't do that, and I just realized yesterday, as I'm going to bring you back to that lawyer conversation that I started with, is that in places that aren't well educated, let's just put it that way, people don't give a shit if they are not told what to do, and if they don't have a ticket with a seat number and aisles put up in front of them to walk through. And I just saw it. I've seen it since day one in COVID, being out there as such a worker, going all over the place. People they don't know what. They're like, oh, I don't know if this is true, if this is not true. CNN's saying this, Fox is saying that, the president's saying this, doctors are saying that, CDC is saying this. There was a guideline, but my local government says that's not apparent, and this one says it is, and this one says it could be, and this one says it should be, and that one. And it's just like, everybody has their own fucking opinion on this, which is fine. Everybody can have an opinion, but when we're trying to make a coordinated effort as a country, you would assume that the government would help in that coordination in some way or another. And then and people are like, oh, they did, they shut it down, and they told people couldn't fly in from China. That's bullshit. That's not a coordinated effort. That actually makes it back to the people. And then my friend argued, he's like, well, it's the young, it's like the young guys that are coming after you, you know, because what's happened lately is I'm wearing my mask and my gloves around, and I'm trying to be protective of everybody, and I'm still going in and out of shops because I have to for my business, and I'm in there, and people are now coming up to me in threatening ways. They're saying things to me. I had, and my lawyer friend's like, oh, dude, come on. Like the young kids are all like, oh, fuck you. You know, I'm like, no. I had a 70-year-old lady the other day who was morbidly obese. I mean, massive lady. As she walked through it was a True Value Hardware where everything is like literally this next to you. Like
surprised she chose to walk. Go ahead.
Trust me. Anyway, she walks through the place. I move out of the way and I go, 6 feet at least away from her. And she goes by and she looks at me and she starts laughing at me. I don't believe in all that mask shit. There's a bunch of crock. I'm not gonna. You're gonna catch me dead in a mask. This is what she says to me as she's walking by, and she's with one of the store clerks who's also in his 60s and no mask and no nothing. And he's like, yeah, I don't know about this old bullshit, shit, boom, boom, boom. It's my town, if I'm going to go work and open up my goddamn...
It's like, I don't even understand what you're saying.
Exactly. And I'm like, what the fuck are they talking about? Like, I'm just trying to social distance to protect myself, to protect my wife, to protect my friends and family, and to protect them. Because my mask is barely protecting me from what, spewing out, but I'm protecting them more than anything. I live in a county that really has high rate. So I don't want to bring my infection into other places if I'm an A positive person, because sometimes you don't know. You can just pass this stuff like you're passing gas if you have a good immune system or if your body's set up that way. But, and other people don't. That's why people die of any ailment. You just aren't able to fight it through your body, and or conventional medicine's not working. So and then the next person that came into the store, as I was paying, there's like no space between me and the wall as you're paying, and this dude in his probably late 20s walks in right behind me and almost gives me a shoulder rub up as he's walking by. Almost does. And I look over
kind of deliberate because he sees you wearing a mask.
This is not the first time. And I'll tell you more stories.
Fuck isn't a drinking water over there?
Yeah, exactly. So he almost gives me one of them, but he checks that I see him because I turn over to the side and I'm way bigger than this dude. And he about to do it, and then he notices that I notice what he's doing, and he kind of pulls back and kind of almost skims my shirt in the back. He's that close. And he says this as he's going by. He's like, yo, sorry, I'm not social distancing. I don't believe in all that shit. It's all a fucking hoax. And then he gives me a fucking look. And I look over at him, and at this point, I'm about to fucking burst. And so I'm like, you know what? I wear this mask because a lot of people are ignorant. I said, and ignorant is rampant around here. I said, so I'm going to wear this for all the ignorant people. I looked at him like, you want to fucking go to blows? Let's go to blows. Like, I'm sick of people making comments to me about being educated about something, Like, it's unreal. If you want to make a comment to me, guess what? I now have a new philosophy. You're going to fucking hear it right back in your fucking face.
Come get, if they want the sauce, come get that A1.
Like, come on.
Come get that A1.
You kidding me? Like, I'm not going to sit there and just fucking take it from these people anymore. They're going to hear it. And then the problem is, and what I've noticed a lot on Facebook is that, and this goes back to the TWIV virology podcast that we were just talking about in the beginning, is that when you put up real information where people can actually get educated or have an opinion about real information so that they're educated for their own opinion. Like the TWIV cast, I put it up on my Facebook, I don't know how many times, about 20, 40 times over the past 3 weeks. And I've actually made posts that says, just listen to this. I dare you. I dare anybody to take the time to go.
I did it last night.
You did it.
Let me tell you something. There are other things I could have done last night, but that one. what I chose to do with it was a 2 hour 47-minute podcast, and I listened to just over 2 hours of the 2 hours.
Yeah.
There are dumber things. I'm not trying to say be a productive citizen your whole life, every single second, but there are dumber things I could have chosen to do last night. It was all right, man. I'm good.
Think? I want to know so that's a way of educating yourself. It's not the only way, and you should obviously go see different.
But one of many ways. And this is a small part in your life. You can watch a shitty movie, all right? I watched Bridesmaids last night. Good movie, right? You choose to watch that over Species. Good, you chose correctly, all right? You chose to listen to this podcast over Skip and Shannon's Undisputed, okay? You watch Skip and Shannon every damn day. You chose wisely. And I'm not even talking about smart and dumb choices. I'm just talking about different. I'm talking about if you have concerns. Chris, if I may right now, the first thing I want to talk about is individual responsibility, okay? I've been called by a fence sitter by Jason Olive, and he keeps saying it because he thinks it's an insult. It is not an insult. Fence sitting is a compliment, because fence sitting, people think that you're just sitting on the fence and you're not doing anything about it. No, you're doing shit about it. You're just not taking sides. You're taking the side which is right. I will give you an example, all right? Since our news stations and our political commitments lean us one way and the other, right? Have you noticed that the last few years? Like if a black guy gets shot in the back, and you think the police were wrong, you're a Democrat. If you felt like the guy shouldn't have run, you're a Republican. Okay.
Well, no, it's this
tribalism. It's this tribalism.
The rhetoric that on the extreme sides are pushing for.
But I want to talk about individual responsibility as far as this COVID thing is concerned. All right.
Okay.
If someone's wearing a mask, leave them the fuck alone. All right. In New York, we saw Chinese people wearing masks when there wasn't so much as it wasn't even flu season. Leave those Michael Jackson looking people the fuck alone if you think they look like that. All right. And I'm teasing a little bit, but I'm teasing.
Open up Facebook at the
no,
same
but I'm
time.
teasing. I'm teasing 10 years ago, but I'm serious now. Okay. Now on the other end, if your state decides to open up stores and open up stuff like that, and if people disagree that it's too soon, nobody is making you leave your home. You, as an individual, exercise your personal responsibility based on data or just based on your gut feeling. I don't know. And in this instance, I don't care. Leave those people alone who exercise their right to stay home while you go out there and possibly put yourself in harm's way. If that's whatever. So individual responsibility and respect for people's space. Like let's say you and me are on the opposite ends, okay? Let's say you're still social distancing, and let's say I don't believe in it, that's bullshit. How about out of respect for you as a person, I give you your space, regardless of what I believe, okay? That's like fucking killing a bunch of atheists because they don't believe in God just because you believe in God. It's bullshit, all right? That's first. Second, and you're going to like this one, government responsibility. I got a lot of good things from this podcast. Experimental medications that help alleviate symptoms, that help that help infections and stuff like. You can just put it on mute. Kill the volume on Facebook. All right, cool. So no, but there are certain medications and certain therapies, the triple therapy they were talking about, that helps alleviate the symptoms and help it run its course. For me, I just think it's important for people to know that the government was derelict in their duty and preventing this pandemic, okay? And I think at the end of the podcast, everyone's saying everybody should have the vaccine when it comes out. Everybody should be required or they won't get insured. I say fuck you and fuck your insurance. You know why? Because our taxpayers' dollars pay for our government to protect our life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The government, and I'll say it again, was derelict in their duty. I don't give a fuck who your president is. They were derelict in their duty in preventing this pandemic. And now they print money, bail out fucking Wall Street, bail out big business, bail out whatever, and then have the gall to say, hey, we'll make sure the loan that we give you is a reasonable interest rate. Oh, we'll make sure that the insurance covers it, but you have to do this for me. No. Print your money. Vaccines are free. How about you want to make a vaccine attractive? To someone's American right or just or necessity, it should be free. You know why? Because we got this pandemic free of charge. Even though we sorry, whoa.
No,
We paid our tax money dollars for this pandemic.
exactly.
We not paying to fix it. It's their fucking hole. They do it. Which leads me to my third point, and I'm gonna let you go in a minute because this is a podcast and we're supposed to be
No, I'm
doing our
loving
thing here.
everything.
I do like state control as far as federal mandates because different
Sure.
states are different. Montana, social distancing, I don't think it's going to be too much of a problem. Texas, one of the craziest states or whatever, they seem to be doing a good job, and I think they're opening things up a little too soon because now there's a little bit of a spike in the COVID as a result of. But I don't want to step on any political things to say I told you so because we don't know. We gotta wait, right? Florida. I mean, half the reason why there were lockdowns is because they showed us a scene of people on the beach. It looked like spring break out there. And Governor Newsom was like, "F this, Hermosa Beach closed, Manhattan Beach closed, Huntington Beach closed." And individual responsibility, government responsibility is the cause of the reason why we're all locked down. If we go out there and we behave like children, we are going to be sent to our fucking room and being treated like children. And this is the problem where I think Democrats, Republicans, people who this way, people who are that way can all come together and just understand each other. Individual responsibility prevents this shit. You get to go out. Don't stop behaving like morons. The story you just told me? The story you just told me, you know what? I'd be in a 6x9 cell. I would have popped that dude in his mouth.
Good, I was
And I'm
so
talking violence
close.
on my podcast, but
So close.
no. I mean, listen, you have a wife, beautiful wife. She's a hottie. She's a smoke show. Okay,
That's a good one.
my girl, beautiful, educated.
Another smoke
I
show.
got a little towhead, little 3-year-old.
Another smoke show.
I'm not trying to bring that home to her. Listen, for those of you that listen to this podcast or listen or whatever, I'm O positive, okay? And there are study after study after study that shows that I will probably be more resistant, but it doesn't mean I don't have it, and it doesn't mean and I might be asymptomatic. And though I'm a strong guy, good for me, I can get other people infected. I got a 3-year-old. I ain't trying to do that. I ain't trying to mess with people like that. And I guess all I'm trying to say, and the floor is yours in a minute, if the state mandates, if the feds are saying let the state handle it, states, do your job. Know your provinces, know what to lock down, know what not to lock down. Same thing with gun control, same thing with hunting, same thing with carriers permits. You can do this. Individual responsibility, and the floor is yours in a minute. Individual responsibility. Respect each other. If you're not into this social distancing thing, respect the people who are. Respect the people who are. And for the people who think the social distancers, if you think this whole lockdown thing or this whole opening up thing is too soon, exercise your right to stay the fuck home and everybody's happy.
All right, I'm gonna double that up too. And originally in Oregon, when we enacted the stay-at-home order from the federal government, we were a week behind California and Seattle, even though we're right in between, and Seattle's an
Yeah.
epicenter.
It was like a ground zero at that time. I remember
Ground
talking
zero
to
at
you.
that point. So I'm sitting here going, why aren't we testing people coming over the border in their cars like I'm seeing in Korea and I'm seeing in other places where they have, those the little makeshift tents that are out there. You got police people up there fully done, and then they have the whole line of people where they're quarantined. They check their temperature. If you have a temperature, they pull you over here. They do a test and they say, oh, you got to quarantine for 14 days because of blah blah. This coordinated effort so that it wasn't spreading outside of the area. The other thing that, and again, I'm going to keep on saying coordinated effort, and information behind that coordinated effort,
Mhm.
and that's got to come from the federal government to start. And of course, yes, every state has to know what's going on with their state. So, echoing what you said, we were a week away from the full shutdown, and California and Washington were both shut down, and Oregon hasn't done that. And of course, I have a dispensary that's on the way to the beach. It's on one of the main roads, and you have to take. There's only these few mountain roads that go to the beach out here in Oregon. There's not like a lot of them. You have to take every hour and a half. There's another one, and we're on one. So we're seeing all these people flood in through this one, channel on the way to the beach, and I'm seeing license after license coming in Nevada, Washington, Ohio, Arizona, and then Washington, Washington. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? So I talked to some guy comes in. I'm like, oh, Washington, huh? I'm like, down for a little, you got a house down here or something? Like, what the fuck are you doing in the state right now? We're all on lockdown, quote unquote, by the federal guidelines, even though Oregon hasn't done the stay-at-home order yet. And he's like, yeah, well, all of our grocery stores are all fucked up. There's nothing in the shelves, and all the stores are closed in my area. So I figured, go down to Oregon because everything's open. Go to the beach, go rent a place for the week, go to your nice restaurants and your nice grocery store, and, live. And I'm like, my jaw's on the ground when I say this, like, don't you realize that you just came from an epicenter of a virus fucking, explosion? Mm-hmm. And now you're bringing the possibility of bringing that virus into another state in an area that has none, 0 cases, 2 hospital beds in Lincoln City, okay, which is the Lincoln area. 2 hospital beds, that's all they can handle, right? Because it's a small hospital, it's a beach resort town. And that first week, after Washington and California shut down and Oregon was open, there are over 3,000 hotel beds in Lincoln City area, and it was at 89% occupancy in the middle of the winter. Okay, and then I saw people leaving, after the week, and the governor's like, well, if you're not going to listen, folks, then I'm going to the stay-at-home order. Okay, because no one was listening. Salem, Portland, everybody's just fucking walking around like, is this okay? I don't know if this is fine. We're not, but I don't know what's going on. We're locked down as a country, but we have no stay-at-home order here. So who really gives a shit? Or this is all a hoax. This is all the opinions start flying. And then the people are coming back off the beach after the week. All these Washington state IDs are coming in again at the dispensary, and they're picking up weed for their travel back home, which is awesome. I love it. But at the same time, they're not supposed to be there. And so, and one guy comes in, he's like, yeah, I'm really not supposed to be over here. I know I'm one of those assholes, but whatever. I want to live my life anyway. And he gets ready and leaves. I'm like, what a fucking dick. What an asshole. Another person that comes in, they're like, yeah, we're stocking up because you guys are shutting down, so we're going to have to go home. So we might as well stock up on weed here and the food. So there were lines in our grocery stores of people stocking up on food. There were actually, by the end of that week,
hoarding's more like it.
Hoarding, yeah. And by the end of the week, there were actually, I didn't even see it, but I heard account after account of that. There's the main road that goes into Lincoln City. Right before the main light that brings you into town, there was a chalk on the ground that said, go home. We don't want you here. And they were actually starting to egg cars that have white Washington license plates on it because people were not listening. They were just not listening. And like I said, 4 days after that, we actually went into a full shutdown here, a stay-at-home order, within 4 days, because I was going back and forth. It's an hour drive and everything, and I'm seeing everybody on the road, not on the road, and it was so easy. There was nobody on the road for the first 3 days, and then by the 4th day, you started seeing the trickle of people. Same thing with Home Depot, same thing with all the places that were open. You're seeing people trickle into these places more and more every single day as they're coming out of their shells and they're going, but no one is listening. No one's wearing PPE. No one is wearing, and I shouldn't say nobody. I would say about 1 out of 99 people would be wearing PPE, and that would be
Chris, you can only talk about what you're seeing. I know.
Yeah,
I know what you mean by nobody in this. And now you can only talk about what you're seeing.
1 out of 99 will be wearing something here, and they usually have it around their fucking neck. And then Home Depot itself, it's open through the whole shutdown, and I'm in there, and not one of their employees, not one, okay, not one has a mask on for the first month or so.
Yeah. Yep.
For nothing. No, and they're all caught.
But tell me why. Tell me why they don't have a mask, Chris.
I have no idea. I mean, they sold. I bought the masks from their store. They were selling masks.
Oh.
They had masks. They had gloves.
Okay, that answers my question.
Everything was available. I was buying their shit. I'm like, I can't believe it's still available. I'm like, I can't believe people aren't fucking buying this. I got a store. I'm going to need this.
No, but for the stores that have them and sell them, That's different. The reason why I asked you to tell me why is because when they were saying a mandate, like you have to have a mask everywhere you go, you have to have a mask everywhere you go. And when you try to order one, the delivery dates are June 29. And
Oh
it's
no,
like,
I know.
are these people not supposed to leave their houses because they don't have a mask? I'm playing devil's advocate for a little bit.
No, I
Even
agree
though
fully.
Home Depot, if they are in fact selling masks, because I went to Home Depot in Hermosa Beach or Manhattan Beach, and they
Yeah.
said and they weren't selling masks.
Oh no,
They
this is way back in the beginning,
yeah,
and again,
okay.
once I saw Wuhan
Because
starting
how
to
you
build
expect
a
someone to have a
hospital,
mask if they're not selling them?
I just don't know. I don't get it. It's just unfucking believable to me. But and then that goes back to the root of this coordinated effort. Okay, if there was a problem with PPE and we recognize this right away, which we did, every single state, red or blue or green or whatever the state is, every single state came out and said we don't have the right PPE for our people. We just don't have not enough for definitely the general public, and barely enough, if enough, for any of the healthcare
The
workers
government
that are.
screwed up. They screwed up. They screwed up.
So
They,
so
they, they
that
said their
that
stockpile. They blamed the administration from 3 years ago about their stockpile. And I'm like,
we
are
did
you
that
trying
for
to tell me?
years.
And I'm like, are you trying to tell me that 3 years went by and you don't even take a peek? Can I,
Exactly.
can I tell you something about how the government does things when there's a change of command? And
Yes.
this goes all the way up to the commander in chief. All right, I'm ex-military. All right, every single member of my family served. From every I'm a sucker for brown eyes, right?
Yeah, this is my boy.
He's like, where'd that come from? Who said that? So listen, in the military, when we have a new captain, one captain's reassigned and another captain's coming in, do you know what they do? They do something
Oh,
called an inventory. I work in the motor pool. Guess what? This man has to sign for every single screwdriver, bolt cutters, Humvees. We inspect it. We make sure it's present and accounted for, and you sign it over. And that goes all the way up the chain of command. When Trump or whoever it is, or whoever's in charge of that, when there's a change of command, when there's a new administration, you signed for that equipment, so you
you
can't
don't think they
blame.
got a list of the shit that they own when they took over the job? Are you
Yes,
kidding me?
and
Of
I'm
course
trying to,
they did.
and my argument is, you're trying to tell me for 3.5 years, nobody bothered to take a peek.
Well, how about this? How about
How
this?
about
Okay, for three. Wait,
how
wait.
about
For
some of those
three and a
items
half years.
expire?
No, no, no. For 3.5 years, they neglected it. Okay, we don't. Sure, he dismantled this group, dismantled EPA, and dismantled
The
this, and
groups that were in
dismantled
charge
this.
of the groups that were in charge of looking for it.
Dismantle them all. Okay, whatever. I don't give a shit. You dismantle them. That was your authority to do so, and you
Yeah,
felt that you should dismantle these for
right.
whatever
But if it
fucking
was
reason.
their duty to check on it, guess what?
Take
There's
it
no
up.
one checking on it.
But once we figured out there wasn't enough PPE for every American and every fucking worker out there that was frontline workers, how come we didn't initiate the act to start to fucking make them immediately a wartime act? And that's what I don't understand is that okay, you can say that you didn't do it for 3.5 years. I get that. And by the way, I
Yeah,
didn't have a stock of
because
PPE here.
Chris, we ain't got time for the blame game. The, the,
I
the
didn't have
question
a
is,
stock of
what do we
PPE.
do, right? What do we do?
But the minute I found out about Wuhan and that
Uh-huh.
they were building a hospital to
Yeah,
hold to take care of these people, I said, "Holy shit!"
this is serious business.
I said, "Could you?" I said, "I smoke pot. My lungs are like the worst thing in my body." I'm like, I can't imagine stopping my life and having the flu, pneumonia like symptoms for a month. It's not 7 days of symptoms. You're out for like 20 something days with this fucking thing out of your life, whether or not you live through it or not. You're out dealing with this, and yeah, some people of course pass it over really quickly, but if it actually sets in, I'm like, Jesus Christ, I can't take 28 days out of my life. I don't want to shut my store down for 28 days if I don't have to. I don't want to have my whole staff out sick, and I don't want every customer coming in getting it from us because we're so ignorant that we're not going to wear this stuff. So I went out and I spent like $1,500 in supplies right when I heard about the hospital to make sure that and trust me, I heard it all the way to my wife, who's Columbia educated biochemist over here, and she's like, "What are you spending all this? Are you really think?" And I'm like, "Baby, I just want to make sure that we're okay no matter what happens." And I'm trying to protect myself. my family as best as I can understand of how to do that. And if it's buying some PPE so that I have to wear a stupid fucking mask for as long as I have to wear it so that I can stay alive and my family members can stay alive, then why the hell wouldn't I do that? And if I can make the educated guess, okay, that maybe something's going to happen, okay, coming over here, how come the government, with all the information that they're given, and they're given a crap load more than I'm given, okay, how come once they understand that governors, mayors, doctors, nurses, people are coming out in person, not in a tweet, not in a rant, they're coming out and they're like almost in tears. Like, we need help. Help us. And when you're watching this, you're like, how come we can't coordinate through an act, especially when we have a $3 trillion budget this year, okay? And then a $3 trillion fucking stimulus. And then maybe another $3 trillion stimulus after that.
And if it's a national emergency, the defense spending comes into that too.
How come Americans, if we can get a census fucking package every single year, how come Americans can't receive a package from the government that says, this is your personal PPE, wear it like this, understand the rules that we're putting forth, and listen to your local governments for the directions on how you guys are supposed to act and interact with each other?
And I'll tell you what's not a good reason. They don't have the money. They have the money.
Of course they have the money. And not only that, they're going to bail out the post office. You don't think sending all those things to the post office would have put money in the post office? And then back to your point about money in the system. I don't get why we're constantly, I understand bailing out a lot of different businesses and whatnot because everybody's feeling it and people are going to try to open up their business.
I never objected to the bailouts. Just the distribution. Just the distribution.
Is beyond me. Like, each American gets $1,200 and says, "You're all right, buddy. Go back to work." Like,
my favorite line is, we should be thankful. My favorite line is, we should be thankful.
because the president's signature is on a check? No. Like, what the fuck is that about?
No.
I'm going crazy
the same government who got us into this mess at the taxpayers' expense, by the way, is saying we should be grateful that the money we put into the system, we're getting a little bit back.
Okay, let me throw this out here. I do not receive back from the government in any way. I haven't. I won't. I don't qualify. My business doesn't.
You're an independent contractor too, right?
Yeah, I have an independent contracting company since but I don't qualify because of the money that I make and because and especially with my dispensary doesn't qualify at all, actually, under the first stimulus package, even though I kept my staff at full staff. Even though we had gotten a little bit slower due to no traffic coming down to the beach. I'm a beach resort place. Even though people were buying a little bit more and keeping us open basically with the lights on, the local people, I wasn't getting that extra flow that everybody's reporting of all these extra things going on. I'm a beach resort. I've set it up to be the business up to be like that. So unfortunately, I have to deal with beach resort traffic coming in for the summer, and that's the extra flow in my business. And so, with all this said, we pay, I don't, as a dispensary owner and dispensaries in general, we pay 3 times more taxes than anybody else in any other industry, in any other world, in any other country, state, city. We pay more taxes than anybody else in the world. I don't get banking. I can't use banking. If I do, I pay 20% of the money in and out. Okay, so if I put money in, I pay 20%. I take money out, I pay 20% on money in the banks. Okay, that's the tax rate that they put on money going into a bank, if you can find a bank that will do it, and most of them aren't like that. So I don't qualify for any of this free money that's going out right now into the world. Okay, and I pay a lot of fucking taxes, with my business. Okay, on everything.
Oh yeah.
And so my problem is when there is $6 trillion, Okay, we might have one trillionaire on the earth. Okay, after this all thing, Jeff Bezos, we all know this. But right now, $6 trillion, and Americans get 2 checks for $1,200.
Funny
We only
math.
got one.
Funny
We only
math.
got one. There might be another release of another check. Okay. Thank you very much, buddy. Check. Like, I don't get that. When right now, and this is my
do you know
philosophy.
Trump was pushing for that harder than Nancy Pelosi was? Do you know why? Because $1,200, he gets off so cheap. He was at the front line, and this, it's weird. Trump out-lefted the left and trying to get that money to everybody. Where Nancy Pelosi, I don't know what her holdup was.
Maybe she's trying to get. But we'll take a fucking $1,200 check with no problem. Yeah. We can't have a socialist society or glimpses of it or
about. How about a balance?
Yeah,
how about a balance?
I mean, there always is a balance in everything in life.
I'm sorry, but isn't it socialism to bail out the banks? Is that not socialism? Is it a different word because someone makes more money, Chris?
That's what I don't understand. Everybody's like,
why does no one call that socialism?
We can't have universal health care because we can't afford it.
Do you know those motherfuckers are going to be richer when this is over?
That's going to bankrupt America.
Do you know these guys are going to be richer when this is over?
Of course, because all this money was just pumped into you see what happened yesterday in the fucking stock market?
That is living proof that socialism and capitalism sometimes are binary.
I don't get
Someone is using socialism for capitalism right now.
So they figured out, that they were proposing in this next stimulus that there would be a $2,000 check that would be given to every American until December. Okay, that would have cost approximately $685 billion. Okay, that's it.
Yeah, the math in my head says, wow. Okay, yeah. I just did it in my head. You're good.
Because, we have 300 million people, and it's about 685 billion or something like that.
God damn, Chris. You son of a bitch. You beat me to the punch. Go ahead.
It's like, I don't, and if, okay, the other point is, if you send Americans that money, instead of sending it to the banks, and you send it in a check, guess what they have to do with that check? They have to bring it to the bank and deposit it, okay? Because it's not cash. They can't just go spend it, all right? So if you give the people that money and they have to deposit it into the bank, and the bank then gets all of that money in which to use it while they're holding it for the people before they go use it, and then they get to charge interest and they get to charge servicing fees, and they get to charge in and out fees for using your money when you use your ATM and stuff. Why the fuck are we giving them money? Because all we have to do to bail them out is give them back our money. And if we gave them the $685 billion as a first deposit into the banking system, can't that keep banks going? I mean, if they're asking for individual store owners of restaurants to shut their restaurant down for 2 months, hair salons, where these people literally live check to check and tip to tip, which really pisses me off when people don't tip those type of people. I over tip because I was in service industry for a long time.
Me too. So, and listen, I went to Marymount Manhattan, and when you study theater and acting, and these people graduate and they're trying to get on the stage, or they're trying to get in the film. Yeah, take care of our people, man.
They're working fucking hard, man. This is their job. They deserve to fucking get money for catering. Like, if I'm gonna sit there like a fucking king and someone's gonna go drop shit in my face and tell me, am I feeling okay? Do I need anything? Can I help you out with anything else? I mean, Jesus Christ, fucking tip these people. So it goes, if you're gonna tell store owners and all the people that work in those places that they need to stay home, they're not gonna get shit but a $1,200 check once in all of this. Within 2 months, people are going to get restless. This is what's happening. And this is back to the coordinated effort that I keep on talking about.
Yep.
Because there isn't a coordinated effort coming from the top to let it trickle down, because we're doing trickle-down economics, okay?
Jeez.
So that's a coordinated effort, right? They coordinated to give the wealthiest people in America a tax cut. So that was a coordinated effort. They said, okay, let's look at the whole spectrum of America and what do we want to put forth would be our tax policy to make sure that money flows through America. Why can't they make a coordinated effort for PPE? Why can't they make a coordinated effort to have people that don't understand? Okay, going back to my lawyer in the beginning of the conversation, and Great Neck, who's like, dude, who's not wearing masks? Who's not socially distancing? I'm like, nobody is out here.
Same thing in
99% of
Manhattan
all
Beach. It's like it's like everybody's doing their part. Yeah.
so well outside of the areas
The
that aren't
bubbles.
listening,
Hmm.
you need to then walk somebody through the pearly gates to their seat at the fucking football game, okay, and show them which seat they're sitting in, and let them be excited because now they're in the seat and they can understand their seat and they can understand their viewpoint on the game and they can react to what's going on with the game, and they're not running into the game grabbing the ball and being like, I got it, motherfuckers,
I
I'm gonna run to
love
the finish line, because you all don't understand what I understand and you're not smart enough to understand what I understand. So if you don't understand what I understand, then fuck you and fuck everything
I
you have to do. Then here's the
I
flag.
dude, I love your example. Example I'd like to use. I'm gonna go one back at you. I think you'll like. In the '90s, because I'm just gonna go our age group. When the movie came out and you bought tickets, we had to stand behind that barricade, and when they opened the barricade, everybody's running their ass up in there to get their favorite seat. The best thing the movies ever did, and I guess I can only use AMC as an example because I've only been doing AMC. Assigned seating. I'm like, everyone's like, yeah, we gotta go see the movie. I'm like, dude, it's there for me. The seat's there for you.
That seat and that one.
And it's a bucket. Listen, they went from running for your life mob mentality for opening night movies to actually purchasing your ticket online or even there to assigned seating to a bucket recline seater. From people rushing in to get into a chair you can kick to
And
this.
I love
That's
your
just
example.
called that's just called smartening up. It's good
And
it's good
you
for
know why
business.
I love your example, because you just showed that people would actually go and spend their money prior to the movie to make sure that they had the right seat and to wait for the right seat, which means the movie company, the theater, and the movie business that put it out there are all seeing pre-sales. Okay, which is incredible for any business. If you're like, oh, on Friday the whole thing's sold out and we've already been paid for it, so I can take that money and I can go use it between now and Friday to generate even more money. That's like a dream in people's minds.
Dude, you raise the money for movie prices. That's when you say it's worth it. Like when something goes up, and maybe you're like, if there's quality, you're like, all right, you know what?
And so that
I'm
goes
gonna go
back
with
to
this
this
one,
PPE
please.
thing, okay? And if the government had sent out a coordinated effort, so everybody got a mask and everybody got a little brochure of things that they were supposed to do, I believe personally that we would have been able to open up a lot faster, because then people would have had an understanding of, oh, this is what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to do this and this and this, just to the very core of it. I'm not talking about going crazy and doing all these other things like, taking some sort of drug or bleach or whatever anybody's trying to fucking tell you to take on the fucking news every single day. No, I'm not. I'm talking
Pull out
about
a chicken, rub it on the top of your head.
there's so many people like, oh, UV light and this light, and all you got to do is do this, and you got to take this. Like, okay, whatever. That's what TWIV's about. Let the fucking scientists
Blow dryer to the face.
studying this for 35 years. I need to hear from somebody, and not only him, I need or her. I need to hear from him, her, him, her, him, her, him, her, him, and then they let them collectively all come together and get an answer or a question to an answer or an understanding of what might be the understanding of what's going on, or question that, or any of the above. But to not have the simple package to begin with, to allow Americans to see their seat at the football game. Oh, seat 32, great! I know I'm at seat 32. That's all you had to do. And once they got to the gates, they would have had the barrier set up. And then say, oh,
That's
if
it.
I have my ticket, I'm going to have to wait in this line, huh? And I'll tell you what, if you had enacted 6 feet of social distancing a year ago at a football game and said, if you get this ticket, okay, if you buy this ticket, when you get into line to get into the stadium, there are going to be lines on the ground 6 feet away. And you need to stay at that line before you get into that stadium if you want to come watch the game. Guess what everybody would do? They'd fucking stand on that goddamn there. There'd be some assholes, of course, that would
talking about their right. Yeah.
Of course.
Don't you love people to talk about their rights?
But most people would be 6 feet away with the fucking ticket in their hand. And this is what my biggest problem is that, yeah, I get it. Influential and wealthy and smart areas of the United States that are taking in the information and processing it and understanding, well, I don't know it all, but I do know I'm supposed to do this. Just like my friend in Great Neck. I get that. So he's like, why the fuck do I need this thing coming through the mail to tell me to put a mask on? What am I, a fucking idiot? I said, no, but there are a lot of idiots out there that don't understand that. And if you don't tell them, like, to line up like sheeple with a shepherd there, guiding them through this,
then we're going to be locked in the barn. Then they're going to lock all of us in the barn.
You're going to be chasing sheep for fucking days in the mountains if you don't shepherd them together as a flock with your shepherd dog and your staff and whatnot. You have to do that. Now, I get not everybody's sheeple, and I don't want to say everybody is sheeple, but there are a lot of sheeple people out there, if that's the majority of the situation, your
mistake, Chris, is you think you limit the whole sheep mentality to people who are stupid. There are intelligent people. Smart people.
I'm not saying that they're not, but
who are brainwashed into that,
And because we set our government up on a sheeple mentality, okay, because if they're going to propose rules for all of us, right, we've designated one person that's smart enough to go speak for us, right, and then they go represent us, and then they give us governing rules, which is the sheeple approach on everything, right? And it's not what they did for this effort. They said, this is what we're going to do, and then go for it, guys. And he like ran away. He's like, no, you don't see me anymore. I'm hiding behind this. Like, no, you need to coordinate effort from the top, just like a shepherd would herd their sheep. Just like if we're going to make a tax code that everybody has to follow, then why can't we do a list of things and send a document and say everybody needs to follow it this way?
Because I think people starting with individuals and building up to small collectives where we're all, like you said, we all have a collective whole. What we have to do is, just because someone has a position doesn't mean, remember you were talking about extreme this way and extreme that way, it doesn't mean that they're going completely opposite to what your opinion is
either.
No, that's the point I'm trying to make. You're not saying that. And that's the point. This is why you're getting in arguments with some of these people, because people think you are saying that, and I don't think you are, Chris. Remember we just had this conversation about what it's my rights, it's this or whatever, and this and that. For me personally, I will say this: just because something's your right doesn't always make it a good fucking idea. Now, whether someone takes my statement and says, "Oh, you're not for my rights. You're totalitarian." That's not what I'm saying. That is the illogical leap to the opposite. And I think as you continue to debate healthily, and sometimes to your demise with some people who just don't want to listen, is important, because at some point there's going to be this meeting of the middle. And the reason why we have friends on Facebook is because all of us collectively want what's right for our family. We all want collectively what's right for our friends. We all want collectively what's right for our neighbors, be generally good people. And I think the more people like you, and I'll use me a little bit too, because I've been more conscientious about it than my activism goes way back. I almost feel like I retired from. I'm just tired, And the more people continue to debate healthily with people who disagree with them, as opposed to watching on a news station where everyone's just circle jerking on why they're right and why everybody else is dumb, I think we can break the mold. I think individuals make small collectives, and small collectives make big collectives. I think only a Brechtian approach is the solution.
I keep on trying to do that by putting the TWIV podcast up on everybody's comments.
TWIV's awesome.
I'm like, okay, this is what I think, but if you really want to learn, you should listen to these people, because I can't,
or at least know it's out there. All right, post it. Someone be like, "Nah, I don't want to listen to TWIV." Boom. Or
Okay.
I listen to TWIV. I don't want to listen to TWIV today. That's a win.
Whatever.
That's a
Whatever
win.
the
I
situation
only
is,
listen to
it's
one
good for you.
episode. If I never listen to another episode again, I've won.
You have.
I
And
won.
and what did you think of listening to that episode? What was your when you were listening to them? What was starting to run through your mind? Were you being taken to places? Were you start thinking about the things that they were saying, and you were revolving it back to your life and things you've seen and things you've heard, and then you were reflecting on it again, the information that they were giving you. You were listening to them, how they discussed the information, and they threw away stuff that wasn't right, and they brought forth things that they think are right and that they've studied to be right. And what did that make you feel, Jason, afterwards?
Here's my here's my take on TWIV. My take on TWIV is a bunch of individuals whose this is their wheelhouse. They live in it. They're passionate about it. They happen to get paid a lot of money to do what they love, which brings a sense of maybe a sense of not jealousy or envy, but like I'm so happy someone's out there doing something they love.
Oh, yeah.
Chris, I'm doing what I love. You're doing what I love. So speaking only for myself, I can relate. There's also a level of frustration that might be mistaken for arrogance on their part when people ask questions that some scientists might think is stupid. And the thing I liked about this podcast is, look, you sent us a question. You said, let me ask a stupid question. And there's sometimes we answer like, oh, obvious is obvious. But I think they do a good job knowing that infectious disease and immunology is not common knowledge. So sometimes their responses are like, well, if you do this makes sense, that makes sense. And it comes off a little bit arrogant. But they don't mean to be that. It only comes from a level of frustration for people's not willingness to understand. And they do a very good job collectively mediating like, wait, this person's not set in their own ways. They're emailing us questions because they want to know. And one of the guys was very nice saying, hey, look, it's not a stupid question. We're grouchy. This guy's grumpy. Remember the Seven Dwarfs mentality? This one's dopey. This one's whatever. And I'm glad that they just came up front and said, hey, sometimes we act and we talk like we know everything and you need to educate yourself or whatever. But it's only because we're in the same room, E-room that is, with like-minded contemporaries,
and it's 12 years later for them. We're all just coming in off of the fucking, like off the street, like, yo, this party's been going on for 12 years. Let me jump in and see what's going on. And they're all doing their fucking dances that we've never seen before. We're trying to understand that dance, and we're like,
big up Dr. Daniel Griffin. He's PhD and an MD. Also, I believe is a professor at Cornell University. Big on infectious diseases, immunology. Big up to Brian Barker of upstate New York. Kathy Spindler, Alan Dove, Richard Condit out of Austin, Texas, doing some really good research and work out there. Dixon DePalmier. New Jersey. I don't know the city in New Jersey, but savage. And and it's great. It's like if you're a sports fan. If you're a sports fan, you get like all of your favorite players in a room. It was a pretty good episode.
And I've been saying that to volleyball players because they can relate to this. So I'm saying to them, I'm like, listen, if you want to go win an AVP event, okay, you don't go ask a 10-year-old kid that just picked up the ball, maybe 2-3 months ago, all right, and started fucking around with it in his backyard. You don't go up to him and say, listen, how do you win this AVP tournament? Fuck the match. Or the game. How do you win the whole tournament? They're going to be like, well, you're supposed to bump and set. No, you go to a coach or a player that's been playing 20, 30 some odd years. And you say, what do you see? How should I react to that? What do you see that's going on with me that you can better me so that I can win this tournament, and then the person that's played for a while, you've been doing this for a long time. What's the best way of winning this game? That how well that person plays over there. What are their weaknesses and how can I get them? Like all of that is information that you would take from someone that's been in a sport or in any profession, okay, for 20, 30, 40 years. Now, you don't have to listen to everything they say. If they're like, yo, man, you got to hit that ball on the line every single damn time because if you don't, you're not going to win game. But you're up there and you're like, I see a shrimp in the corner open. Do I have to listen to the coach or the other player every time? No, but I'm going to take their information into account. I'm going to understand that it's coming from 35, 20, 15 years of, being an expert at this. And it's an educated guess, if you want to put it like that, of what somebody can do to make it through a situation. That's what you get with TWIV.
Chris,
You've got,
yeah.
To educated people, and they're all over the United States. I'm so glad that you pointed it out. One's in Texas, New Jersey, this, that, the other,
Michigan,
and it's perfect because
Kathy Spindler's
in Columbia.
Kathy Spindler's Western Michigan. Kathy Spindler's Western Michigan. Alan Dubb is Western Massachusetts.
It's amazing. It's and it's great to hear all of them say, "Oh, this is the point of view where we are from the people that were, and this is," and then talk about how it relates to back to everybody. And when you see that there are people that are understanding this, and all over the United States, and they have at the smallest amount coordinated effort on TWIV to get the right information out. It goes back to my coordinated effort from the government. I don't understand why we can't coordinate an effort of information to get out. And we started to do that with the CDC and Fauci, and they were getting out there, and we were, there were some guidelines that were starting to come out, and then they were ixnayed and threw away, and then they were barely released. And, and then we opened up the country on the 28th of last month. And once we opened up on the government, opened up the country, then they said, okay, it's up to the states. But there was no real guidelines for the states to follow. Quote unquote, there were CDC guidelines that a lot of states were following, but they didn't say you guys had to follow these guidelines. And the guidelines that they put out, you could have opened up if you had no cases. You could have opened up if you didn't have cases for 14 days or whatever it was. And then there could have been areas that were open. But instead, people took these sweeping plans and said, you know what? Whatever you say, I don't give a shit, like Georgia. Goodbye. This area. Goodbye. Don't care. We believe we're going to do this. Now, that's not smart. That's not a coordinated effort. And that's not showing.
How about we just build walls and keep those,
We can have a coordinated
my man talking
effort
about
to
building
build a wall.
This dude talking about building the wall. How about we build walls and keep those motherfuckers from getting out?
We have a coordinated effort where we're spending millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars to build a fucking wall, but we can't send people a fucking flyer and a face mask and say this is what we're expecting.
You're gonna have to miss me with that one. Yep. Listen, I like first of all, I'm gonna go back to your volleyball example. I like it. Me as a coach for 21 years who's played indoor for almost 30, predominantly indoor, and a ton of beach coaching. In my experience, the people that I've gotten the best input were the aficionados, were the people who mentored me. And you're gonna laugh, the people who know zero, who don't even watch the sport, they just pick up something. They're like, is that guy supposed to hit the right side of his hand? And I'm like, is it hitting the right side of his hand? Somebody to pick up. So in my experience, just a funny thing, just the funniest thing. Like the person who knows nothing and the person who knows almost everything are the two people that made me a great coach.
Things, Jason, we all can see things, and we can all realize that people have different depths of perception of what they understand, what they're viewing, and how they can relate and speak back about it. I have a hard time speaking some days, and other days I'm really fluent in my conversation. So I see it all the time too. And I agree with that fully. Like I said, you're up there and you're about to hit the ball and you're like, he said to hit it on the line every time, but I see the shrimp to the corner fucking wide open. Why am I not hitting that? And then of course you come down and let's say you hit the line and you didn't get it and they scored the point, and then you walk over and you get your water and some dude's like, yo, the shrimp's open. How come you didn't hit that?
Because it's a head fake, dummy. Because it's a head fake. Because it's a 4-block switch, and that person's showing you that. So when you go there, he could just literally. He don't even have to be Taylor Crab and dive for it. He could just walk up and be like Lollipop. Oh, now you're gonna get licked.
Played so fucking good this past season. Unbelievable.
The coaching's gotten better. The coaching's gotten better. Do you know why the coaching's gotten better? Because now people are not spending all their money on weed and they're spending some money on coaches. All right, they're hurting your business a little bit. They fucking with you, but no. But Chris, I'll give you an example. I can give you 100 examples, but how about I look no further than to you yourself. I bring your attention, everybody listening to the podcast. My man, Chris Ships, decided to play in a bunch of tournaments, but I will specifically cite the Manhattan Beach Open. All right, played with Bobby Jones. How old are you, Chris? Tell him.
I am 47 years old.
Why is a man who is 47 years old teaming up with a guy who's retired from the sport, who's coaching in Texas, but takes care of his body to his credit, who is an undersized playing? How do those two people win a first round? Because you fuckers think you got it all figured out because you're physically strong and you jump just as high as this guy. This person's just as tall as Phil. That one moves just as fast as Nick. And physically, good for you. But because you can't exercise the muscles between your ears, and because you don't have the inclination or the money or the desire to hire someone that can steer you that direction, you're gonna lose to people who don't even play the fucking sport anymore. All right, the men. Shape up or ship out. The women, they're already learning their lesson.
Oh, yeah,
Kraft, Maple, 15 and 17 years old, making it to the final 8. Chrissy Jones and Munoz, one still in college, one graduated college.
Right.
They made it to the semifinals. Why are you in the qualifiers for 6 years straight? And this kid, Miles Partain, and his brother at 15 and 17 years old, make the main draw at Hermosa Beach a few years ago. And
by the way,
now... Sorry.
Manhattan Beach, youngest team and oldest team age gap. Bobby Jones and I, Partain brothers, ever in AVP. So we actually went in the history books. And the largest age gap between the two teams registered for a qualifier for our AVP event.
That's awesome.
Pretty awesome. And I'm Dougie, who's out hopefully watching or will watch this at a certain time.
I just tagged him on this.
Because he was, man, so it's in the third, we won the first one, they won the second one. I mean, you're talking.
You're talking about the Partains?
What was it? No, this is when we were playing Manhattan Beach.
All right.
And Dougie's over there on the side. He's watching our first round qualifier. Thank you, Dougie, for showing up and watching. I mean, they're still doing construction while we were playing our game, trying to get through the first round of the qualifier. And here we are in the third. I've taken every timeout. I've done an injury timeout. I'm dying.
I think you fucking threw up.
Oh, I threw up at the end of the match. I was dead, dude. It was 2 hour and 45-minute match, something crazy like that. Anyway, so in the third match, and I have a picture that I point to Dougie afterwards. I take a timeout. Bobby Jones takes a whole thing of water, ice water, pours it straight down my back. He's like, "Come on, man, you can make it. You can make it." Bobby Jones turns to me. He's like, "Yo, Ships." He's like, "Stop making shots. Fucking hammer one at them." He's like, "Go up there and fucking hit one. I know you can hit one. Go up there and hit one. They're not ready for it." I'm like, "Really?" He goes, "Yeah, they're not ready for it all." He goes, "Go up there and fucking blast one out."
Oh my God. Hold that thought for a second. I just want to show the fans the clip.
Yep.
All right, I'm on camera 4 right now, and this is Manhattan Beach, and I think you can't see it because again, you're not in studio, but you can hear it. And Bobby Jones right now, he's just waiting. You're chilling, and we're like almost 10 seconds in, 15, 20, and now you're back on the court. And I'm betting money that this guy serves you
always
up and down set.
All the serves. I'm old and fat.
You get blocked, cover, and now not only are you making these long rallies, but the time and the gap that you're spending between both of them, you're frustrating the team. You're getting them out of their rhythm. Next thing you know, they're missing serves. Next thing you know, easy shots like call shots. You were talking about high line or cut or whatever. They're doing the right shot, but now they're missing. It was.
And you got to do anything you possibly can with the information that you have. Okay. And Dougie turned to me and he's like, "Yo, if you want to win this game, you're gonna have to blast and stop making shots." He's like, "Your shots have worked so far, but you got to blast them and take them off their fucking cue. They're looking for your shot right now." And the dude that we were playing against was like 6'6" or 6'8", like one of the kids. So his block was massive. So you're up there like climbing the ladder, shooting it up over this massive block. Dougie's like, "That's not gonna keep on working, Ships. You've made a couple, but you got to blast these dudes." Yeah. So I went out there, and it was in the third match, and I was absolutely exhausted. Bobby Jones gave me a great set, and I fucking blasted it, went right through the block and right off the dude's hands and off to the side. And I walked off and I turned and I pointed right at Dougie, and I'm like, yes, dude,
It's a good dude, man.
that's what we need in life. Sometimes we need a little outside influence. We all need it. No one has all the absolute answers. I don't. Every time I put something up, I let people go fucking crazy on it.
Doug Nascimento, aka Doug E. Fresh.
Yeah.
We had this conversation about conquering demons, like exercising the muscles between your ears. Like, I've heard a lot of people, and I don't like to name names because people come to me with information, and they know I'm not going to out them. You know, I've been like a ship that doesn't reach a port. I have. You know, I have information that can end people's careers. But
I was a promoter, Jason.
But there are a lot of people. No, but there are a lot of people that don't know Doug and don't like as far as training and how he preps his team. They're like, what skill is this? What skill does that guy know? What does I don't know anything about. Doug is everything you need at that level. At the high level, Doug is everything you need as far as conquering demons from the neck up. And
hell yeah.
Because
and I saw him do it with plenty of people this year because he was out there with Ricardo, and he also helped Ty and Ricardo in Chicago.
The man has been semifinals, like winners bracket. The man has helped guide Ricardo and Rosie, two older players that really can't afford to be getting knocked in that losers bracket and have to climb out. He's done winners bracket all the way with some of these guys.
Brought him all the way through, dude. Right next to him, and I see him. What he doesn't. He's like he knows. Stay the fuck away. Let the athletes be the athletes.
He's
but
so
when
good
it gets
at
to that point, he goes in and he, like I heard him say it a bunch of times, like, hey, he said it to Ty in Chicago. He's like, yo, you should check out because this is wide open. Ty's like, oh, yeah? He's like, yeah, wide open. Mm-hmm. He's like, ooh, okay. And just little reminders, like things that we don't, when you're in the heat of the battle, every point is you're in your fucking head, And same thing with this virus that we started talking about is that you're in the heat of the battle. Everything's in your head. And it's good sometimes to step away and have somebody, a nice overall ear say, you know what, you might want to look at this because this is also relevant at this point. It doesn't mean you have to make that decision. Doesn't mean you have to go out there and run out and go do all these things. But
yeah, because there's no federal mandate that says you must leave your home just because you think everybody's idiots for like opening up too soon. And in the end, I mean, look, time will tell. Maybe it is the wrong decision. Maybe it isn't. But if it is the wrong decision, it's not going to be because you are forced to follow the pack. Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
I was talking about UFC. Dana White, right? They put on the pay-per-view, had not Max Holloway, Tony Ferguson, Justin Gaethje, had the main event in Florida, Jacksonville, Florida. Nobody in the audience, limited number of coaches, 2 competitors and a ref in the cage. I want to give my opinion, and I just want your take on how it might translate to volleyball or other sports where there's limited competitors, if not combatants. Dana has a big pair of balls between his fucking legs for daring to make this happen. And I want to tell you why I thought it worked, and I want you to chime in. I thought it worked because in order to make something like that happen, you have to sequester people from their families. Mixed martial arts, the average training camp is 8 weeks. Tony Ferguson had to do a rush job, 4 weeks or whatever. So if you have a training camp and you're isolated from your family for 8 weeks, and if you have the money like Dana has to get the testing kits and get the testing done, it is the safe way to do sports. And that includes the coaches, that includes the refs, that includes the camera people. And he found a way to do it safely. And Jacare Souza got pulled from the fight because even through all of that, they still had one fighter that tested positive for COVID. He had flu-like symptoms and they weren't sure, but as a precaution, wise to the word, canceled his fight, and it turned out he had COVID. But I guess my question is, Dana found a way to do it safely. Is there a method you see for beach volleyball? Because it's our wheelhouse, all right? Me and you, we know a lot about every fucking sport because that's just who we are. We're sports guys, all right? We're just these long arm. I was this long arm barrel body kid that could play every sport. Do you see them being able to do something like this for volleyball or tennis?
Well, speaking of TWIV, they talked about tennis the other day on the broadcast, and they were saying that because if you're playing it outdoors, which you're breathing out, and the air is taking it away. And because the ball itself isn't like a plastic ball where the virus would adhere to it and then you would
Yeah.
spread it around as
Yeah.
you're
With
spreading it
metal
around.
objects being the longest, right? Where it lasts
Yeah,
the
and
longest. But go
you
ahead.
have the tennis balls are made out of wool on the outside, so
Hmm.
they're saying that that would be absorbed because it's the virus is absorbed into cotton and then gets bound into the cell of the cotton. So it's very difficult for you to then get a viral load. We have to all remember that it's viral load.
That's
It's
it.
the amount
That's
that you
right.
take into your body. You couldn't be exposed to this and not and catch it because the viral load wasn't there. And that's goes back to masks and gloves and eyewear, is that you're not exposing yourself to a viral load that would overtake your body and then you would have to fight this substance. So tennis, yes, especially considering there are only two competitors. They're on either, and they have a racket in their hand. So the only time they're really touching the ball is to serve the ball. And then they were talking about how they could bring in new balls for the service, to limit the amount of times that somebody's touching a
And
ball.
they probably have to get their own balls instead of have ball
Yeah,
boys.
exactly. They would have their own. In fact, one of the doctors was talking about how his daughter has her own balls to go play in Connecticut to practice on the facilities that have been
Yeah,
open.
it's like this, just like volleyball, like a bucket full of balls. It's their,
Yeah,
yeah.
for serving, only for serving,
Okay.
and everything else is, because when they were practicing the ball that you use to practice back and forth, you don't have to touch it. You can just pick it up with your racket, drop it, and then hit it over to the other person. The only real thing that you need is when you're about to serve it, you have to hold the ball to be able to serve
That's
it,
right. That's right.
So yes to tennis from what I have heard and seen. Volleyball is tricky to me. It's so close to my heart, and I want to say, yup, what the fuck, let's go play. But I know from going back and forth with my wife for 2 months that the ball will and can hold the virus if the other person has it,
Because it's
uh,
leather.
because it's leather and it's not going to really absorb it. It
Right.
might
And we're
absorb
not
it.
hitting it with rackets. We're passing it with our
We're
forearms.
passing with our
We're,
arms and we
yeah.
have sweat, and then because it's not just that, because this, that's one thing, and the real problem is when you go wipe your eyes and you grab the snot out of your nose and you do all these things that you normally do, and then you've passed it inside yourself and or from yourself to the ball and then to the other people on the court that have to touch the ball. Now, can you then, you know, disinfect yourself in some way? I don't know.
Well, I saw the
I know
video.
that,
I saw the video of them peppering. Remember?
you know,
They passed the ball high. Look. They passed the ball high. Purell.
yeah.
And that guy does it. And then
Or
pass high. Purell.
you could wear rubber gloves, to help the bite. You could wear rubber arm
You'd have
pieces
to, yeah.
too. And I was thinking about buying some of those to, go practice. I have to admit, I've been practicing the past 2 weeks. I've been playing ones, in a secluded location with one other guy.
Okay.
And what we're
Yeah.
doing
I'm lucky enough
is,
to have a girl that plays too, though. Phew.
yeah.
She's a savage, but go ahead.
So and I won't say he's been in complete lockdown, nor have I, because we both have jobs that are essential. So we're out there, but he has face masks, he's wearing them. And when we pepper, when we're within 6 feet of each other, we put face masks on so that our virus isn't going out to each other. I try not to touch anything on my face or any orifice so that, I'm not, and I am taking a danger and a risk because, if I do bring this back to my
But
home,
there are levels to that, Chris.
but there
The
are
danger and a
levels. It's
risk.
just like your risk is with, and when we set up the court, we put the dink line 6 feet on either side. So it's actually 12 feet in between us that we're playing from each other. And then when we walk around the net, we walk around on opposite sides of the net and we give a high five from a distance, like, hey, great job. So we're trying to keep, the air within our 6 feet our own. And then if it's not, it's cleaned out by natural air, by doing 12 feet of distance in between each other. And when we set each other and when we start, we're both wearing, masks for that part, just in case someone goes, and the other person comes in for a quick set, and next thing you know, they're like, eating your fucking your breath. But I don't know if that, I don't think that's really safe, to be honest with you. I'm kind of pushing it by doing it, and I feel like I am, especially every time I come home to my wife. My wife has sickness also, and she's been dealing with that for a while. So I don't want to, hurt her in any way beyond what she has in her life. I don't want to do it to the people I know. So I'm really cautious, and I don't think it's the smartest thing. However, I have to say that when I do come back here, I do go straight to I take off all the clothes. I go straight to the shower so I don't touch her. I don't try to touch anybody else. But I could be housing the virus. I could be asymptomatic. I could be passing it to her the minute I shower and if I kiss her or whatnot. So
It's
with
less
all with all that said,
right. Please.
um, Salt Lake City area, they just announced that they're going back to doing volleyball tournaments. I noticed that you have them in Florida, they're starting, and you also have them in Texas, they're starting their local tournaments. Salt Lake City, in their mandate for the tournament, said that only the players are supposed to show up. No fans, no family, no kids. Only registered players. Okay, and
And
that's
there's a
how.
risk, but let's see what happens.
Now, what I said to somebody the other day, and I think I said it to you, and I talked to the guy that I was playing volleyball with yesterday also. If the AVP would like to have a season, okay, just like the government, they need to show a coordinated effort, okay?
Like Dana
Now,
did.
now, that does not mean that you keep on sending out bulletins that say we're waiting to see if this is going to happen. If you're going to have a fucking season, have a fucking season. Okay? And you can do that right now by scheduling a tournament in Florida, scheduling a tournament in Texas, scheduling a tournament in Hawaii, scheduling a tournament in Salt Lake. Basically, anywhere that has relaxed the restrictions and are allowing people to do these activities.
Yeah.
And then by doing so, you're putting the onus not only on yourself to try to protect your players, which of course you could get sued in the whole 9 yards, we all get that, but you're giving the people, just like the UFC, the fighters and whomever is involved in sport, an opportunity to make a decision for themselves based on the information that they have in front of them. Now, if you decide not to go to those tournaments, that's your decision. But they're going to run them just like they're running them in Salt Lake City and Texas and Florida, the local tournaments. They're going to run them anyway, and people are going to show up. Now, is it smart? I don't know. Is it going to pass the virus around? I don't know. I hope not. I think so. Is it small enough amount of people that it would have a lesser impact, and all these people are supposedly in really good shape, so they're able to fight it off? Maybe these are things that you can take in if you're the coordinator,
Which goes back to the individual decision, because if players are going to do a sequester thing, let's say they do a 3-week training camp. And let's say they get testing kits or whatever, 3-week training camp, that's as clean as you're going to get. But if people are going to miss their fucking family, or let's say someone's wife is going to whatever, I mean, honestly, I don't probably want to play in a tournament anyway. If you care, if you want to be there to watch your baby being born, you're not going to be there if there was no coronavirus.
So with that said, there's a way of doing this.
Mm-hmm.
And is it right? I don't know. Is it smart? I don't know. Is it going to have effect on the long term? I would hope not. Are they going to do head thermometers 2 days prior to make sure, 2, 3, 1 to make sure days prior that people aren't contract? Because, people are out and about, and you could just go pick it up 5 minutes before you go play. You're like, shit, I need to go get a Gatorade. You walk by some dude, or you grab some package of Gatorade that someone else has already grabbed, and they were all sweaty and nasty from their fucking day, or they sneezed on it because they were there before you, and you come 5 minutes later, you grab the Gatorade, and you're like, oh, and then you go down to the fucking beach, and you're like, what's up, man? What's up? Like, I would assume, so there's got to be protocol, washing hands, sanitizing.
And these are all possibilities, too.
Can you sanitize the ball? Yeah, you can sanitize the ball to make the viral load on the ball less. You can spray it down with the refs. The refs can spray it down and wear gloves. There are
and even the person with the Gatorade thing, you can wash your freaking hands.
You know what I mean?
Right? You can wash your hands before you drink the Gatorade.
There are protocols that can make it safer. Whether or not it's fully safe, I don't know. I don't want to be the person that says it is or isn't. I don't have enough information. But
don't you think that these sports, and we're talking about tennis and volleyball right now because these are minimal competitors.
Yes.
Don't you think that it would be smart for them to call Dana and say, hey, Dana, I want to go and see how you do your setup, and I
Of
don't want to.
course,
And I don't want to do my setup the exact same way.
of
But
course.
you had ideas where they've done 3 events. So they've
Dude, you
done
should
three
be the
events and
smart.
only
You
had
should,
one athlete. So
yeah,
if
you
one
should be as
athlete testing
smart as
positive,
every.
no, but here's the thing: if one athlete testing positive for 3 events is too much for somebody, then don't do that. But as far as personal decisions and living with the ramifications of those personal decisions, as well as your coaches and your family and this and that, that should be that should not be a totalitarian thing. That should be a freedom of choice thing.
Without a
That's
doubt.
all.
But
I'm
but
because you
if
know why?
you're
Because ignorance is not only bliss; it's constitutional. But like you said, as long as it doesn't, like you said, as long as other people don't stand, a slew of people don't stand to lose because of your decision.
yeah, and we don't know what the, what the ultimate uh right choice is at this point.
No, we
There's
just know realities. We know
just no,
facts versus
yeah.
realities. Those are the conflicting forces, Chris.
Yeah, I know.
The fact is,
And
it's better to stay at home. The reality is, we're not gonna stay. We're not gonna stay behind a door and wait for a vaccine to come. Maybe in November, maybe for only one of the strands. We're not. That's not real.
well,
That is not.
well,
That's
well,
not
well,
gonna
well,
fucking
listen to this
happen.
though. If you do
But
herd
that's
immunity,
real.
if you do herd immunity in the United States, if we take that position,
Hmm.
2 million people by everybody's account, this is everybody in the world,
But are
CDC,
but
everybody,
are those the
that's
only two choices
1%.
on that?
No, no, I don't know, but I'm just saying that if you take herd immunity
Yeah.
just at its core, I'm not talking about if you do things within herd immunity to help, the spread, not spreading it and whatnot, but the core of herd immunity would be, the 1% that they're talking about, point one or whatever the infection for death rate is. So that would come out to be about 2 million people in the United States if we were to do herd immunity. I don't believe in that. I don't believe in killing 2 million people just to say, let's go out and do our lives and let's see who dies and who doesn't die to pass through this.
Right.
I think there can be coordinated efforts
Hmm.
along the way to help uh, not spread this virus and at the same time bring us back into our normal daily lives. And volleyball is one of them in particular. There can be precautionary things that have been set up and say, just like wearing a mask and going outside is a precautionary thing that we're suggesting, that the government's suggesting, and you have to take the personal decision of whether or not you're going to do it. And we would all hope that everybody would do that.
Are
Now
you?
going,
But Chris, I'm going to stop you right there. Are you suggesting that um this we're only stuck between this dichotomy of herd immunity and waiting for a vaccine?
No, no, not at all. I think that, no, what I'm suggesting is that we have to find a way in between those two extremes.
Okay.
And because, as TWIV says, we could be 2 to 4 years away from any sort of a vaccination. And first of all, will anybody in the United States take it? With everybody saying there's a microchip in it and all this other stuff that's out there that's crazy. But besides that, they are even saying, will it even work? We don't even know. Maybe it works, quote unquote, for like a second or two that helps people, but then all of a sudden something else in their body goes because of the medication. We don't know. So waiting for a vaccination is, is
It's
crazy.
it's not a
Um,
reality.
it's not reality, especially when there's no money being pumped in or back to the Americans. I mean, we spent all this money with our taxes and
Oh
we don't get it
God.
back in a time of need is just absolutely crazy to me. So at least enough time that we can figure out a coordinated effort so that we can say, okay, this is what we need to do. This is how it's going to work together. And, so that's just crazy. But back to the sports thing. I do believe that we can and in life in general, we can put together plans that will at least help us bring all of us back to a normal society that isn't a herd and it isn't waiting for a vaccine. It's someplace
That
in the
isn't
middle,
irresponsible, right?
and that it isn't irresponsible. Now, is it fully responsible to do
No.
some of these things? I don't think so. Like the
No.
volleyball tournament, it's
Dude, you
not fully
get killed
responsible.
walking your dog. What the hell's there are levels of responsibility?
Okay, it's not fully responsibility, but if you give the opportunity for people to make a decision with correct guidelines there so that you can minimize the risk for everybody, then I believe that people have to take the opportunity within their own decision making of whether or not they're going to go do that. And
And
personally,
yeah,
I'll tell you personally, I'm not getting on a plane and flying to Florida. I'm not getting on a plane and flying to
I'm
Texas.
not getting on a plane at all.
at all at this point. No way. Not with a mask. Not with anything. I'm just not
I
going
like
to
to
do
go
it.
to Wisconsin in June because
You know?
Wisconsin, like Fish Creek,
Yeah.
June is the best. Yo, it's the best place in the world to be in the month of June. It's kayaking, the weather's perfect, sunsets, the pizzas is surge. I'm not going. It's too
I know.
bad. Too bad for me. It's gonna suck for
My
me, but
mom's in
yeah.
Massachusetts on the Cape, in a beach
Oh,
house.
yeah, right.
And
Ah,
I'm looking at pictures
ah.
like, on the beach,
Oh,
and here where the water's fucking freezing, you can't go in. I'm like, oh, so
take
yeah,
me to another place.
I would love to, but I'm making the decision, and maybe that's not the right decision for everybody. I saw one of my friends fly from California to New York yesterday, and he was, he had all three seats to himself, and he's a young dude. He brought pot with him of all things and edibles, and it didn't even get flagged, which is kind of crazy. But people are making the decision to do what they need to do, and they're making it in a coordinated, educated way as to what's been presented to them as a coordinated effort. The
and
airlines are wearing
yeah,
face masks and stuff like that. They
yeah.
have hand sanitizer they're giving out to people, and masks they're giving out
Yeah,
to
I was
people.
supposed to go to New York twice. I didn't go. My father passed away.
So,
Didn't go.
yeah, I'm sorry.
The AVP, I'm coaching Rob McLean and someone else,
Yes.
whoever he plays with. I mean, it'd be nice if Ali Song could get his citizenship because Rob would have a partner, and now that's it right there. That closes up shop right there. Rob's a promising young athlete, 25, 26 years old.
He's amazing.
He's basically a longer, leaner Eric Baranek.
You did a great job with them. Who you coached two of them in that qualifier that
Oh,
they
him
made
and
it.
Diorora. Yeah.
Yeah, oh, dude,
We
you
took
did a
first
great
set
job.
from Kalinsky and whatever, but let
Yeah,
me tell you something. Baranek and Bill are very good at adjustments, and
here,
and they had a coach, So it's like I'm like Rob.
Joe. Bill was blocking that tournament like I never.
They made it to the semis from the qualifier.
Dude, that game against Ricardo and fucking Sean that
Yes.
they played. Oh, when we were sitting next to each other. Oh my God, was that amazing? I have to preface. I know.
Look, to get to the semis, you have to
bad.
chop down those trees. They had to beat Ricardo and
Dude,
Rosie.
they
They
played
had to beat
so
Brunner and Hayden, and they won that 2-0. They had to beat Case Bear and Shock. And I mean, and mind you, this is a gold series, so you have to chop down at least 3 of those trees just to get to Sunday.
so unbelievable.
But it was a great welcome back for Bill, who was on, who was exiled for a little bit, and it was a great. It was good for Eric Baranek because he's the best defender no one talks about.
No
It
one
is
talks about.
criminal.
He's like the street kid from New York. I mean, excuse me, from LA.
Yeah,
area,
he's
whatever.
Redondo Beach High School kid.
Redondo Beach, right?
Duncan
Like
Avery
I
coached.
call them street kids like myself, like that
Yeah.
play in the street and fucking.
He's slick. Yeah, he's like us. He's slick.
And I'm like, damn, this motherfucker fucking runs it. He's chasing down everything, doing really crazy backward fucking hit thingies like that. And,
On some
like,
Spider-Man shit.
they
No,
played.
but now he's got a place now. Because when you finish semifinals and then Hawaii, he finished 5th. I believe. I don't know if it was Bill Billigan or a different partner, but this man. Look, this man has paid his dues. He's made the main draw 7 times with 6 different partners. Get on board.
Get on board, people. You know what I mean?
Well, he's training with Andy Benesh now, and I think that's a good. I think Andy Benesh is a good partner to have because
That's a very good
at some
partner.
point they're just going to keep qualifying until they have points, and when he does that, then he gets that extra day's rest, and now you could train that Wednesday
That nice
instead of
little
resting
vibe.
that Wednesday. Yeah, but right, instead of resting that Wednesday, you could train that Wednesday and then rest that Thursday. And
No,
then,
it makes a difference, man. Not getting to the court at 8 a.m. and getting to the court for a 10:30, 11 o'clock start. I had 2 10:30, 11 o'clock starts this past year, and it was a world of a difference between getting there at 8 o'clock in the morning.
No doubt,
like
dude.
A world of a difference.
Yeah,
so
man.
that first round bye and getting those points, I didn't even realize what it took to get there and what the little inward snake that you can play within the AVP of getting to the points. And then you get picked up by, hopefully you get picked up by someone who has as much points as you do or more.
The point
Which-
system's so weird, and
and
like,
then you get that bye. It's
Yeah.
like,
and the wild card system is weird. Like, how does Jeremy Casebeer play with Fanoi Mawanu, who had no points, and he's in the draw because of a wild card, right?
And then that
And then
whole
Sarah
Hawaii-
Hughes, right? Sarah Hughes in Hermosa Beach had more points by herself
I know.
to get, and then she had to qualify with Bustamante.
And I don't get how, like for Hawaii too, it's like you people didn't want to go unless they had enough points to make it in, because it was so expensive. I mean, it was really fucking
But
expensive.
Theo and Hayden had to qualify. So
I
of course your dumbass gotta qualify. Of course,
How
you
about-
know, somewhere
I
out there
got so
Donald's
lucky,
son is like, somewhere out there Donald's son is looking at him like,
dude. I got
just
so
shake
lucky,
my
right?
head.
So Bobby Jones and I are walking down to the court to go practice. You know, we got there 2 days before because my body blows up when I fly, and my
Yeah.
fingers go big, and I have a real
Yeah, you
problem as I've
gotta.
gotten older, and
Yep.
so I need 2 days for my body to deflate before I can play again. And Bobby and I are walking to the beach from a hotel. We're in Hawaii. It's absolutely gorgeous out. We just can't believe we're there. The smiles are from beyond ear to ear. You know, we're walking. Bobby's like, holy fucking shit, you're not going to believe this. I said, what? He goes, John Hayden just texted me and said, hey, can I come train with you guys? Because Theo's not, he missed his flight's not going to be here till later. Are you guys training, and can I come train with you?
Yeah.
I mean, my jaw was on the ground. I'm like, yeah, are you kidding me? I'm going to fucking train harder than I'm going to play if I get to fucking train with John Hayden over here.
Oh man.
And the crazy thing, and this is why I tell this story, not because it was really cool and it was awesome. I'm patting myself on the back.
Well, there's that too. Fuck it.
Yeah, this is awesome. But
I'm interested. I'm go ahead.
So glad I went on tour this fucking year and did what I did this past year, especially considering what's happened this year. So the experiences, the people I met, it was just absolutely phenomenal. I couldn't imagine it would have been that amazing. But
You did the right thing.
We went for a swim afterwards. John, me, and Bobby were all bullshitting about shit. It was just epically gorgeous there in Hawaii. It's crystal clear, and we walk off the beach and we're all town off. I'm like, all right, man, peace. I'm like, he's like, yo, good luck tomorrow. I'm like, yo, thanks a lot, man, thanks. And I'm walking away. I'm like, wait a second, good luck tomorrow. You're playing the qualifier?
Yeah. Why do you think Theo wasn't there? My guess is Theo arranged his flight because like he had to be in the qualifier in Chicago, and you figured since you made the draw and maybe you won a couple of games, you'd be all right for Hawaii, and it's not what happened, because I think Chicago there's more spots. There's like 24 spots for the main
way
draw.
more spots in Chicago. They had to play like, I think it was 4 rounds of the qualifier.
Three. It was 3.
3 rounds of the qualifier.
Yeah.
Come on. Now I get points wise, I get the whole thing, but because it was the Hawaii thing, it all became changed because you got your special points with the people that won the gold, and then if you could win this and that. So it really fucked up things.
Yeah,
people like, Ricardo wasn't going to play with Ty Loomis because he would have had to play through the qualifier with the points because of the going into that, which is crazy because they've got a 7th together in Chicago, and they never practiced together. I think they practiced like fucking 4 hour.
Talk about hitman for hire too, man. Ty Loomis is awesome.
And they took 7th in a gold series, and they lost to Slick and whoever he was playing with. But it was, and they battled. I mean, they beat Mark Burek and his partner, and
Satterfield. Was it Satterfield or someone? Yeah, probably.
Yeah, something like that. So, they lost to Case Bear. But
Schalk.
it was, and Shalek, however you pronounce his name. Awesome. By the way, 2 awesome guys, and all these dudes that I met on tour are just fucking phenomenal people. I was just so surprised at how real everybody is. And it was just amazing. And I hope that AVP can come back and do something in a coordinated effort. But the only way to do it right now is not to wait for California to say we're going to open up our beaches. Because guess what? Just like the last time, they might close them again. So then you're playing is it going to happen? Is it not going to happen? Just like everybody else in America with this fucking virus.
But you see what I was talking about? You see what I was talking about with individual responsibility? Yeah. They open the beach back up, and you're one of those freedom guys. Behave like an adult, or they will treat you like children. They will send you back. They will send you back to your room and take your fucking toys away.
Exactly.
Behave, and if those beaches open back up, let's behave like adults. Hermosa Beach. I can only speak for Hermosa Beach. They're doing a good job.
Yeah.
Good. Manhattan Beach. A lot of them spilled over to Manhattan Avenue, which might entice you to open the beach because the beach has more space for social distancing than the Strand, which is still closed, Everwell, and which the block next to the Strand, Hermosa Avenue and Manhattan Avenue, and respectively in Manhattan and Hermosa Beach. The beach is going to have more space for people to throw footballs and this and that, or to jog and to move along. So I thought it was very smart. And depending on, that's why I said it should be a state and city thing, because it is smarter for Manhattan and Hermosa to open the beach. It is smarter. We don't have zombie apocalypses on our beach like Florida does.
What they've done in New York and in Brooklyn, and I don't know if you've seen the pictures, they have those circles that are painted on the grass. They're social distancing circles.
In Central Park?
Not in Central Park. In Brooklyn, underneath the Brooklyn Bridge. You know that park?
Yeah. Yep.
To the right of if you're looking at the city, the park.
I can't remember the name, but I definitely get it.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
No, I was born and raised. So.
Park. It's like Marion Park or something. Anyway, that park has circles. They're about 6 feet big, and they're 6 feet apart from each other on the whole park that have been painted in the park. Now, there are things like that. I'm not, I don't know if that's right. I don't know if everybody in the park's going to be infected if the air gets out and then it breathes through, if it's a dead day or what. I don't know. But it seems like those type of, exercises in bringing people back to a normal life can be done. And again, if there was a coordinated effort, so at the core of it, people could understand just corely, here is the 7 guidelines we expect. Here's a PPE from our government. Now go to listen to your local authorities of where and when you can and go and not go. That seems like a coordinated effort. But when we're told by the government, you're locked down by us until the 28th of last month, and there are some guidelines, but you don't really have to follow it because we're not making them mandatory, and we're not making them states mandatory following the CDC, and we're kind of saying this is going to go away in the summer, and we're kind of saying you can take some different drugs, and we're kind of saying
we're doing this to flatten the curve.
Yeah, and we can kind of say that's not a coordinated effort. A coordinated effort is being a sheep herder and saying, listen, lines in the sand, it starts here, okay? And then there afterwards. And if we can pay taxes at a tax rate that's been set up by the government, okay, as a sheeple blanket, they say they're not making us make individual decisions about our taxes. They don't say, Chris, why don't you tax yourself as you see fit? Right? They don't do that. They say
you actually have to guess the right number you owe them when you go to jail.
no, you need to pay this fucking tax, and if you don't pay it, we know you don't pay it, and we're gonna go after you to make sure that you paid the right.
And you have to guess the right number that they already know. They're not gonna tell you what the number is. You have to guess, and if you're wrong, you're in trouble.
Come after you. So they still give you. They have a blanket plan for the whole thing, and just like giving out a PPE to people, here's your PPE, this is what you're supposed to do, and now listen to your local government. We're hoping that just like your taxes, you write down the right information on it, and you wear this properly, and then you submit it to whomever you're submitted to.
I've never been so proud and embarrassed to be an American.
How can we not have a coordinated effort like that? How can we hear from the President of the United States that 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, it'll be over in the next week. We have 10 cases going to 1 by next week. We've got the best response we've ever had from any country in the world. We've got the best PPE from anybody in the world. Oh, the doctors, even when he had the nurse on Nurses Day in his fucking office, and she's like, well, I've been wearing my PPE for like a month and a half, and, I don't see anything wrong with reusing it because we haven't had ability to get new PPE. He's like, oh, that's not the case. I heard we have plenty of PPE. We've got the best PPE. You just happen to be a certain case that's happening. What I say is, that's bullshit. He shut up a lady on National Nurse Day in the fucking Oval Office when she was telling her firsthand account of the fact that she doesn't have the correct personal PPE to do her job. And he said, shut the fuck up. That's not true. That's not what I said. You're hearing the wrong thing. You're hearing the wrong thing. This is her personal opinion. So how can we have a coordinated effort when somebody is up there in the highest regard in the land, who we actually, and everybody's going to argue that we pay this man to be there, and people's like, oh, they don't take his salary. What about his fucking golf outings, okay? It's cost us fucking, $500 million.
They don't pay his salary? This man is in the middle of a 4-year heist.
you know,
A money. He is pulling a 4-year money heist right now.
oh hell yeah, he is. And if you can't understand that, you're a fucking idiot. And
Well,
he
I'm a
informed
fucking
me
idiot
this.
because I mean I don't understand mathematically how,
Yeah, no, yeah, me neither.
but
You know what I mean? I mean, you
but
can't.
I got a Harvard girl upstairs
Yeah,
who can
he's
tell me
informed they're
how.
fleecing, and yeah, you can say every administration fleeces the Americans and puts money into programs and to things that they think are fit, and that's what this government's doing. They're putting our money into programs that they think we should spend our money on, and at the same time, we're not getting it back directly to us as Americans in a time of need. This is a national crisis. It's a pandemic, okay? A pan fucking demic. I can't believe I'm saying these words in my
And
lifetime.
Chris,
And
they
I don't
the
have
same
a
people who
face
are
mask
arguing
that
about
has
how
an
much
American
money.
flag on it.
Mhm.
Like, where's my American flag fucking face mask from my government saying we are the best? What I tell you what, this is what I said in the beginning of all this. What I want to hear from my fucking president at a time like this, I want him to get up there and say, listen, you Americans, you're the best people that I know of in the world, okay? You have struggled through world wars. You help every other country out there when needed. You help your fellow Americans when you need it. And you've been paying your taxes your whole fucking life if you've been living here. And we have been using that money to do whatever we do in our job. Now, this is the time that we're going to take the money that you've put in and we're going to start to help Americans at the fucking core, right back to Americans. So, listen, as president, okay, as president, what I'd like to see is that how much you paid into taxes last year, we're going to send you that plus double in your first check. Okay. At that same time, when that check shows up, you're going to get personal PPE and a little list of understanding of how you need to use that stuff.
A check
Okay.
and a "We love you" package.
Right. And now, and then all he have to do is say, and these are the guidelines that we're going with. Listen, Americans, we want to keep you alive. We're trying the best that we know how to do that. These are the things that we think are the best things for everybody to do, and we're hoping this works over the next couple of months. And this is your first round. The money that you put in, we're going to double it, and we're going to send you that tax back a double. Okay. And then every other American that didn't pay taxes last year, which is i.e. me and a lot of other people that I know, that pay taxes that don't get a stimulus back on the, type of thing, because it's all through my business and whatnot. They're like, okay, you're not going to receive any personal tax back, okay, because it's all through my business. Most of my stuff, I'm an LLC. But everybody has a Social Security. You're going to get a check that to whatever address we have on record, okay, with your name on it, and we're going to send that to you, and it has to be cashed within a week, and you need proper ID. So how are you going to steal that check from somebody else? How are you going to, do that? And if you don't have a bank account, well, you're going to have to go sign up for a bank account, because you can't cash a check unless you bring it to either a cash checking place or a bank account or any of the above. And then,
but even a check cashing place is going to take a percentage of it.
Of course they are. So they're going to make money. The bank's going to make money, and the check is going to go void in 6 days if you don't put it in a bank account or if you don't handle it in the proper way. It goes fucking void, and then you don't get sent another one if that check goes void.
Thank God. Thank God it doesn't. Thank God it doesn't. No,
so
right now the government checks are void after 90 days.
90 days. I'm just saying, so you release the first based on taxes. Mm-hmm. You release the second, like $1,200. Sure, you're giving people the whole double tax, and you send them a $1,200 check, and you say, okay, listen, this is going to hold over pretty much everybody for the next month and a half, 2 months, while we figure out what the fuck is going on. And if it doesn't work in those 2 months, and we haven't gotten to the place, we're not going to reopen the government or the whole fucking whole country like we did last month on the 28th. We're not going to say that. We're going to say, listen, on the 28th, we're going to reevaluate what has been going on. We're going to have another educated guess on what we can do over the next 3 to 6 months. And this can continually prepare people so they can fathom it for their own lives, so they can bring it into their lives, and they can see 2 months ahead, 1 month ahead. Here's some money. I'm going to owe this in 2 months. I'm going to owe this in 3 months. Maybe my company will get back up again. And then the government then follows it up and says, listen, if it doesn't happen in those 2 months, we're going to release even more money back to you guys, so that we're going to keep the economy going through the banks, through the stimulus, through the things that we're releasing. Yeah, people are like, oh, you're just pumping money and everybody's going to become lazy. What the fuck is unemployment right now?
Why? Can I ask you a question?
Million people on unemployment and they're not receiving their checks. This is the same way of getting a fucking check from the government to keep you, healthy and alive during this period. And that's the coordinated effort I wanted to see from my government. This is the coordinated. That's the speech I wanted to see from my president.
I would like to start by saying I'm memorizing this quote because it's going to lead me into what I was going to say. There's a movie, Rambo, First Blood, Part 2, right? Big muscles, kill the Russians for America. The one intelligent line I got from just a shoot 'em up movie, and you're going to love this. He says, I want what they want. And every other American who went out there and spilled his guts and gave everything he ever had wants for our country to love us as much as we love it. And that's how I want to start what I'm going to say before what I say next. I will not listen to people that complain about pumping money into something, because those people, when it came time to approve the defense budget, okay? When it came to Democrats and Republicans voted for this guy, Donald Trump, to pimp our soldiers into Saudi Arabia. Thank God for Tulsi Gabbard, because Tulsi Gabbard, she's on the board of Foreign Affairs. She's on the board of Homeland Security. She's not just a congressman from Hawaii. She sits on all these boards. And she's the one that brought to my attention that we're sending soldiers to operate under the Saudi prince's command to do whatever he wants at our expense. Did we ask where the money's going to come from? No. Okay? When the banks and Wall Street and all these people had to be bailed out, trillions of dollars, did those same people that complain about pumping money, did they ask how we're going to pay for it? No. Rhetorical question. No. Okay? Which leads me to my next 2 points, and I'm going to be as fast as I can because you're my guest and I just want more of you. One, I talked about government responsibility. We talked before this podcast. Remember I was talking about what a president does socially and what he does professionally? Trump wants to grab someone by the pussy and she will let you? Good. I don't give a fuck. If Rosie O'Donnell assaults him and he calls Rosie O'Donnell fat, good. I don't give a fuck. If Nancy Pelosi says he's morbidly obese and he goes on Twitter right now and calls her a hag, good. You could dish it, you could take it. I don't care what this man does in his personal life. Just like Bill Clinton getting his pee sucked in the Oval Office, the question back then was, what does this have to do with his job? I asked the same question. What does this have to do with his job? I will insult that man professionally. There's a bunch of things I could say personally which steers people away from the real conversation. It's all a big fucking distraction. Hold on. What does this have to do with his job? All I care is about this man doing his job. He is not doing his job. And I'll say that in short, which leads me to my second point. We were talking about who we're going to vote for in the election. There are some people that are going to vote for Biden, and there's some people that are going to stick with Trump. I'm not going to call them dummies, because there's a large number of people that got left out in the cold by Obama for eight straight years, and they're not racist, they're not stupid. They just think Trump is their best shot, okay? I will only say this about Joe Biden. 4 years ago, he's my man. Now, he's suffering from dementia. Every fucking video you watch, his mental faculties are deteriorating, all right? He is losing his mind, and they have every right to call him Crazy Joe, even though, just like Danny Crane from the show Boston Legal, I think he does one thing better. He lost his mind or everything else, but the one thing he does well, like Danny Crane, the only thing he does well is practice law. I think Joe Biden still does that. He might not even make it through the 4 years if he gets elected. But to some people, logically and reasonably, even a demented Joe Biden, even a lost his mind Crazy Joe is still gonna be better than Donald Trump. I'm not saying that's my vote, but all I'm trying to say is I'm not gonna argue with the people that say even offering this man up on a fucking drumstick, on a dementia drumstick, is still better than what we have in office right now. Lastly, and the floor is gonna be yours in a minute, for the people out there who are undecided voters, who, by the way, represent 43% of our nation. 43% of our nation are undecided. I want to send a message to you, for those of you that listen to this freaking podcast this long. The people that are all the way over here, Chris, and the people that are all the way over there are going to try to make you feel like you're alone. They're gonna gaslight you. They're gonna call you fence sitters. They're gonna call you names. They're gonna talk about how dumb you are because you have your own opinion. And I will say this to you: we are not alone. Just because there's not a fucking channel, a TV channel that represents your feelings, for the people who like their guns and their gay people, for the people who fucking want the government to spend a little less money and at the same time agree with same-sex marriages. That is the majority of the country. You, my people, are not alone. Stay vigilant. Stick it out, because I'm with you. This man right here, he's with you. Floor's yours.
Okay. One thing I want to say is I've hung out with Trump. I've hung out with his daughter.
Ivanka?
Yep.
Okay.
Ivanka.
I don't know. The man got fucking kids. Sorry, go ahead.
Hung out with his sons. And I say hang out because I used to bartend in the Hamptons, and they were at the club every single Friday and Saturday night, and they would be at my bar standing there for 20 minutes at a time doing shots, and I would talk to them back and forth, and back and forth between a bartender. I remember one time in particular, Ivanka bought 5 shots for I think it was Kushner and his boys. They were all in suits. It's pretty funny. And she came up and she bought the shots, and I was like, you and you are a bunch of losers. This girl is so beautiful. Why is she buying her own shots? You all shots for you guys. You should be buying her shots.
Oh.
And I grabbed the credit card from her, and I didn't know who she was. She was just another girl in the Hamptons, socialite type of person. And I grabbed it and I walked over to where you're supposed to run it through. And back in the day, you had to write the information down twice so that you had a hard copy.
And then
and then run it through. And I remember writing her name down, Ivanka, and then I hit Trump. And by the time I hit P, I was like, oh my God, it's Ivanka Trump. And then I'm like, wait a second, her father's bankrupt. I'm like, is this credit card even going to run? I thought to myself.
Oh my God.
All right.
Stop it. Go ahead. No, I don't mean
serious.
stop.
Those are the thoughts that went through my head. I'm like, fuck it. Let's see if it runs anyway. She owes us money. And then it went, and she wasn't of age at the time. So when I asked her for, ID along with the credit card, she was freaking out. She's like, I think she was underage at the time. So looking back and thinking about what happened in the exchange. So I was in this, and then Donald himself with his wife, Melania, they were at the Trump model party at Pangea Club in New York, which is right next to Joe's Pub on the Lower East Side. And and I was there at Bruno Cardinale, one of my best friends, who is the general manager at the Underbar for the W Hotel for the Gerber Group's establishments, had a table there and was promoting, and he was sitting next to Donald Trump. So we shared the table with Donald Trump, Melania, and 2 other of the model girls from Trump model party for the Trump model party event. And Jason Olive, J.O., was there. Actually, he was modeling in the city, and he was up at the bar, and we bullshitted with each other a little bit, which I reminded of him during one of our rants.
Cool dude.
Yeah, he's fucking amazing, by the way. I'm sitting there next to Donald, and there is our table's kind of shaped in a little bit of a U, and then between one side of the U, there's a pole that is a structural pole that holds up the ceiling, and there's a pinch area about 1.5 feet between the pole and the edge of the seat that people are trying to get through, but it's really congested and it's really annoying, and you're constantly trying to shift out of the way at the table because of this pinch spot. Well, about 40 minutes into the night, Donald Trump moved himself into the pinch spot and took the pinch spot seat. And what he did for about 1.5 to 2 hours afterwards made me feel so disgusted that I actually left the table, and all these other model girls that are sitting there, like, people like, why the fuck would you leave a table full of alcohol that's free and a bunch of girls sitting there with Donald Trump at the table? And I was so disgusted because every time an attractive woman or girl walked by into the pinch spot, he would stand up and he'd put his dick into the girl and literally like shuffle her by like this as the girl walked by, literally putting himself on the pinch spot so that they would rub up against his cock every single time they walked by. And after like the fifth time, you're like, is he really doing that? I'm like, is he really being that disgusting, or is he just like, happen to be standing
And
there?
someone actually think that's fun five
And
times?
well, first of all, why would you do that? You have
Do you think it's
a
fun
lady that
once?
you have a lady that's potentially going to be your wife sitting here that you're obviously dating at the time. You're, the head of a modeling agency at a model party, and you're now in the pinch spot to put your dick in the girls that go by. That I was just so appalled by that. And now this is way back before he was even a president or anything. He was just the clown of New York that we all knew him. Just like a cartoon character is what Bruno. Represented him as he was a New York cartoon character. Everybody was like, he's a cartoon. Now, fast forward, and because people think I'm like, I hate Trump and I'm only Democratic and I hate Republicans. No, I was in Martha's Vineyard at one of my billionaire friends' homes, and I was out there for the weekend, and I was invited to go fly fishing with Obama, my friend, and myself, and the Secret Service. As well, Obama was president of the United States. I said no. I should have said yes. What an idiot I am, because I wish I had met him in person, because what I saw him, believed him to be afterwards, and after years of
If you
seeing
think
him.
Clinton and Bush are charismatic,
Yeah, I'm so stupid for not going to that at the time and meeting him in person and really getting a sense of world that this man would give to me in his position and power, and probably a blanket of hope or understanding that goes along with that. And I'm really pissed that I didn't do that, but I said no at the time because I liked him, but I didn't really like him that much. I wasn't really that much of a fan of him. I thought he was really smart and he was
yeah,
doing some good things, but I wasn't like this big, huge fan of Obama. I'm like, yeah, whatever. It's just another
yeah. No,
president,
but you don't like or hate him. It wasn't like you
Exactly. And
picked
I
a side
should
on
have gone and
personal
taken
feelings. Yeah,
but I want people to understand that. Like, I
yeah.
did not take the opportunity to go privately fishing with Barack Obama, okay, on Martha's Vineyard in the most secluded, wealthy, white, aristocratic fucking area in Massachusetts.
Well,
I
those are all the reasons you need to not want to go.
part of the reason why I didn't go. But besides the fact that I didn't take that opportunity because I made a personal decision about what I felt about a person and what I've seen, their reflection of, and so I won't hang out with Trump personally. Okay, I didn't want to hang out with Obama personally, but I listened to everything that everybody's doing politically. Okay, and I don't dismay them because of my personal opinions about them. They're an elected official office, and they have a job to do.
Exactly.
And my opinions on the job that they're doing. If I'm expected to do my job, then, and I say it to my employees too, if I hire you, I expect you to do your job. If you don't do your job and I have to do your job for you, why the hell am I paying you while I'm doing your job for you? I said, if that ever happens, you're not going to have a job anymore, because if I'm going to do your job for you, I'm going to do it for me and I'm going to pay me.
It's
And
bad
you're going to be
business.
gone.
Yeah, but it's
So
bad
why,
business to
why
do
would I do
some.
your job for you? I'm paying
Agreed.
you to do the
Mhm.
job. Same thing with the president. We're paying him, quote unquote, by paying for his lifestyle of golf and all this stuff, $500 million in his presidency to go play golf on our dime, which is absolutely crazy.
And honestly, I say golf away if you do your job. It'd be
If you do
honestly,
your job,
it'd
no
be,
problem. I would never.
I mean, some people still have a problem with that anyway. But I'm like golf away if you
Dude,
freaking
I don't care if you play golf. Yeah,
no.
he's
Look out for the interest of the American people.
He's gone a little overboard in his golf game this
But
past
that's
couple of
why I'm
years.
like, who cares?
But
Remember we were talking about, he doesn't take a salary. I'm like, dude, shut up. It's a 4-year heist.
yeah, it's a tough one. So back to everything that's going on. It's just like
What president left when he's broker? Left the office broker. None of them. Sorry, Chris. You had a flow.
and I agree. And it's just like, I don't want to bash Donald Trump. To be honest, I'm an American. I want my president to be doing the best thing for Americans at all times.
Yep.
I just don't believe that's what's going on right now.
Nope.
From what I see in his policy, as well as from what I see on a stage of a national stage during a pan-fucking-demic. And this guy is playing with our lives. by telling us, oh, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then, of course, people are argument. The other argument is, well, that's what everybody was saying. It was going to go away. Okay, fine. Everybody was saying in the beginning that it was going to go away because no one had any idea. But the minute that we figured out that it wasn't fucking going away and that we have over 90,000 people dead in the United States right now, this motherfucker should have been doing his goddamn fucking job and changed his tune and put something out to fucking help Americans. And if you believe that he is helping Americans after this fucking 3 months, after 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 is going to be gone, and then he all of a sudden shifted gears by doing a national lockdown and da-da-da. No, he has not. He has done the bare minimum that was expected of him to do in this situation. He needed to go over and above and beyond because of the position that he is, not only as a United States leader, but as a fucking world leader. Okay, and he doesn't. He's touting fucking chemicals that you're not supposed to put in your body. The FDA even puts out on their site that you're not supposed to put this fucking medicine into your body without some sort of
even the FDA.
Even the FDA puts this out there. And by the way, that was a study that was funded by his cabinet. Okay, they half funded the fucking study that says not to take this shit. And he's out there like, everybody else should take it. I mean, what the hell? Go for it. Why not? I mean, come on. That's not a coordinated effort. That's a fucking asshole telling you to do whatever the fuck he wants. So you take the purple pill. You drink the purple Kool-Aid. You won't fucking die. Trust me. Tomorrow we'll be in heaven. It's like the guy down there that did that in Mexico to all the fucking people when he took them into his camp under religion. It's the same sort of shit. If you believe in his religion and you're saying, and you're listening to him and you're saying, go take the fucking purple pill and you'll be fine, and you end up fucking dying from it. Now, there's another thing I wanted to put on this point it reverts back from this to the people that are actually not listening to what's going on and or listening to him say, yeah, I think everybody should open up. Oh, should you cautiously, but open up, which is sparking people just to go open up. There on the news yesterday, there was a religious order in, I think it was North Carolina. I don't want to be wrong by saying the different state, but one of the southern eastern states, and they have 68 people in their parish or something like that. They decided not to close during the lockdown. It was a husband and wife duo. They both got COVID. They infected 30 plus people in their church
congregation,
group,
parish,
and
whatever.
two people died because of that. I believe that's manslaughter.
Yeah. Yep.
So how come they're not in jail? How come they're not in jail? How come the people that opened up their churches and infected people and killed people with a government order in line, how come they are not in jail right now?
I think it depends on who the DA is. The DA can take reckless endangerment. I don't know how far that transcends to felony murder. Yeah.
It's not indirectly. Yeah. It's directly killing. Premeditated.
Not premeditated because those people volunteered to come.
No, it was premeditated because they put we're opening during this on Sunday at 7:00. Show up and we'll teach you how to learn to love God. So it's premeditated. They're saying, come on in here. And even though they don't know if they're infected or not infected because they haven't gotten tested and whatnot and they feel fine, that's a premeditated thing. You know, the government.
No, it isn't premeditated because because premeditated is murder with intent. I want to make this very clear, and I'm gonna push back. I'm gonna push back a little bit.
If the government says to close down and you don't close down, you are purposely opening up with the possibility that has been put forth by the government that you will infect other people and kill them.
Possibility. Now, yes. Likelihood is another thing. Definitive is another thing. That's why it's not murder with intent. Their intention was to spread a word of God. As a result, people died. People died from that. So it's not murder one. It's not murder one. And any DA, because my mom worked in Paul Weiss for 32 years.
So what murder would it be, please, as you see? And this is where
I would say voluntary manslaughter. I'd say voluntary manslaughter, and I think someone should go to jail for like 10 to 15 years for that.
Okay, so that's what involuntary manslaughter. Thank you very much.
Not involuntary. Voluntary.
Yeah, voluntary. Yeah. Okay, thank you very much for correcting me.
Like if someone if a DA really wanted to go after him and F him in the butt, voluntary manslaughter, probably charge him with a whole truckload, but try to get him to plead out to involuntary. right?
Okay.
Try to get them to plead
Okay.
out to involuntary 3 years. They'll be home
Yeah.
in 6 months. They'll miss a hocky season,
So
for murder. For
for murder. For murder.
this is no, but this is your level of frustration. that's what you get for a murder, for what we may perceive to be a murder rap. You a little bit more than me, but I'm not running the other way on what you're talking about.
I'm not saying this is all absolute. Everybody's going to jump all over me and be like, "Oh, Ships is just about."
No, we're talking.
Religion.
It's a fucking podcast.
And by the way, just to preface this, also people know that out there, my father was very religious. I grew up extremely religious.
Holy
I was
roller.
an altar boy. I was a choir boy. I grew up an Episcopalian, although my mom was Catholic originally.
Where do you think I got my
Baptist.
singing voice from?
Exactly, and my father was a Christian dean and provost and vice president of different Christian universities. He spread the gospel to other countries, and he opened up universities, Christian universities in China and other places around the world to spread the gospel of the Lord. Now, I am
God bless.
completely versed in this, and I can go on and on and on for hours of it. And I'm not hiding behind religion or trying to use religion as a.
I'm saying the stupidity for the people listening, they got to get that, because there's two of you. Like, I want you to picture a church where people are dancing up in the aisles, doing with their hands in the air, get rupture in their body, the Holy Spirit doing cartwheels. That was my church. That was my church. And that was, you want to talk about religious or like fire and brimstone. Like, if you don't know if you're going to heaven or hell, you going to hell. that was my church.
Yeah, my grandmother was Southern Baptist.
I had to point that out because we got about 4 minutes left in the podcast. Okay. If we go further, I just put in the new SSD card. This SSD card holds 2 hours, 26 minutes.
4. I got to get down. I got to pay my staff. I got.
But before I go, there's something I want to plug in.
Much marijuana.
Oh my God!
Go to my store. Right now.
Yes. Before we go, though, I want to leave just enough time because I want to do this every episode that I can on sports. Wow. Oh.
You think I was kidding?
That ain't broccoli. That's broccoli, right?
Yeah. I'll end it like this.
We got 21 comments on the Facebook thing, and I haven't read them yet, but I know
I haven't even looked at that.
They must be lighting up right now.
Hold on, I'll just keep on piling them up.
Yeah.
Until you can't see me no more. We'll end it with a lot of weed.
Nice. I want to end it. 20-second thing. Boycott Mizuno. You know why?
Yes, I know why. I completely agree with you. I think anybody that does anything to anybody in a manner that is not asked for by that person should be put away.
Every single episode until somebody steps to. I have Sports Debate Tuesday and I have my podcast. This is episode 34. That's you, my man. But every episode, boycott Mizuno until they step to. Step 2, come publicly and talk about. Oh my God, look at you, my man. Businesses are booming.
I own a dispensary. It's every day, all day. What can you do?
Ladies and gentlemen, tell them how people can reach out to you. Plug in a site, plug in a link. People could reach out. They want to know more about Chris.
You know how they can reach out to me by
about
listening and learning about TWIV, TWIV, which is This Week in Virology, which is on Facebook, YouTube, iTunes.
Yep.
It's all over the place. That's if you really want to reach
TWIV
me,
people. This Week in Virology.
Yeah,
TWIV.
Listen to one of their podcasts and then contact me because I'm so inundated with people as I put up truthful information.
But Chris, you're providing a service. People should be able to know what site and how to get with you in providing your service to humanity. Tell them, plug it in.
I'm on Facebook. I'm Chris Ships, and I'm on Instagram, Chris Ships also. Just reach out to me that way. I have Otis Collective Dispensary. That's what I was talking about. Another one.
What the hell you think I've been getting? I ain't talking about BVNE. I'm talking about you.
All right, Otis Collective. I hate to talk about myself. I like to bash other people. So Otis Collective Dispensary is my dispensary. I've owned it for the past almost 4 years now. I have another one that's about to open, Salmon River Collective Dispensary. That's an announcement that no one really knows about, but I've been working on that for over 4 years now. Well, about almost 4 years I've been working on it. So I'm really excited about that. And I'm about to launch Cali Bear CBD, which is at calibear.life. You cannot get in touch with me through that website or anything. It's just another product and we're about to do a friends and family launch. We'll be giving away a friends and family coupon. So anybody that's having any ailments right now with any pain, CBD can really help.
And we need to do a whole nother episode on that and just the benefits and this and that. But I want to let everybody know, for everybody at home, this is episode 34. And for Chris Ships, who is glad to join me now, he's going to join us again soon. I am Jason DeBeas, and I'm going to say, hit my ending. So long. See ya. We're out. Come check out the Option Podcast on OptionVB.com. It's also available on iTunes and Spotify and on YouTube under the NY Varsity Sports handle. You're going to love what you hear.
Jason, that was fucking awesome.